Well, good morning. Happy Wednesday. New Jersey outcome. How you doing, Julie?
I'm all right. So yeah, the candidate I voted for didn't win, but Justin Murphy did. I didn't really even know about him. Again, our GOP didn't come through. I didn't even know there was a debate this weekend. Again, there was no advertisement for it. I heard about it secondhand, and by the person I heard it from, I'm not going to talk about because I'm pissed. Maybe if I was more well informed, I would have voted for somebody different. But I went off by just researching myself. I didn't even know about this person, Justin Murphy. I'm going to stand behind him because he's now our Republican candidate. But to beat Cory Booker. But again, our GOP here in Jersey
Cory Booker on his side went uncontested.
Right, he won uncontested, but what I'm talking about was there was 4 candidates for the Republican side, and nobody was glorified, nobody was talked about. And then I saw Dawn Fantasia's post, which I put in the purple bubble, explaining what each candidate had talked about at their debate that I didn't know about because there was no advertisement for that. And, but that's typical. That's typical in this state. And it's starting to get very wearing on me. And I'm really starting to get mad.
Julie, here's the best part. And you have to take a step back because, what we've, me particularly, and my wife could contest to this, that, hey, I've gone through this, right? We watched the Republicans back in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. And, there was a lot of heartbreak and letdown from campaigns that went on. But what happens, Julie, is that regardless of whether your candidate wins or not, the interaction sometimes can, help you out in the future. Some of the local people, they may move up in government. They may get some state jobs. They may join on with some campaigns. So, don't look at it like it's a loss because it's really not. It's only really to enhance their vote share after this and what office they're going to run for. So, I across the country, you hear this big giant letdown. We didn't win. And, but it's also the connections that you make and the understanding of what's going on. So, it does hurt, no doubt about it, especially like my mother, right? My mother ran for council. She was appointed to council, and the Republicans used a smear campaign against their opponent, right? And basically what they did was they went and they used some government facilities, DMV, to really bring up dirt on this guy. And realistically, the Republicans got such a bad light in what they tried to do, but it was really the names and everybody that I understood and knew what the game was. There's even people that still today that are in that game there. So don't look at it too hard.
Yeah, no. I'm not mad. I'm fine with that. We have somebody to all stand behind. The problem I'm having is just the outright not telling us what, to watch the debate, to look at it, to highlight all of the candidates that were out there. None of that was ever done, ever. Like, just not, you didn't have to go behind one candidate. You didn't have to stand behind one, but just go out there and, New Jersey GOP, put all the candidates that were running out, tell them a little bit of their history, what's behind them. Did they do that? Nope. And, so a lot of people just heard secondhand stuff, went in and they voted. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, I'm going to stand behind the guy that won 100%. And I will do everything in my power to get Cory Booker defeated because we need him out. I think it's a stretch. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to.
So think of it this way too, right? You have to think that hey, some of these leaders that are up in the GOP inside the state, they're really designating the money that goes to these campaigns, especially primaries, right? Because usually people don't have money, especially during the primary season, because everybody thinks, oh, it's in November. What do I got to donate for now? And realistically, it's where they lose the campaign is in the primary process. Right. So most of these Republicans, just like Murphy, probably didn't have a whole lot of money to really get it out there. And there's no way that the leftist media is going to give you any attention on any kind of Republican debate. So it's kind of like a shroud from the mainstream media, to realistically, if they know that they have the vote share, they have the majority inside the GOP, they're going to win the primary. They're not going to waste their funds educating people, telling them who they are, especially in the primary process. It's really the undercard and the people that are coming up that need to spend the money at the primary process. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand. But I just wanted to let you know, the three top runners that were in the race, they all got in the 50,000 range of votes. Okay, the winner, Justin Murphy, got 58,000. Richard Tabor, who I voted for, got 53, and Alex Zidane, whatever his name is, got 50,000. So they were all a close race. What I'm saying is, because nobody was like just talking about this. This is how, if you broke down all the counties, how people were voting. So, this was a close race with three big candidates.
Yeah, but the turnout was dismal. Did you see the turnout, the actual vote?
Turnout is always dismal. I'm just tired of saying that, Marlon, because that's what it is. I can't make people get out and vote. I can say it all the time. I can say it's on blue in the face. People don't want to jump up and help. It's their own demise. Then then they're the first ones to complain about all the problems that this state is having. It's just very disheartening.
So this year there's some competition inside of our township, right? And we had both of these candidates stop at my house. The first candidate that really didn't have a shot, they weren't very smart, right? They came and showed up at my house on Mother's Day. Right. This is the candidate that was kind of, hey, given the nod, like, yeah, you guys are going to win. It's even to the point where now there's two GOP parties here. Right. So, they're screaming the same thing, but there's one establishment and one that's not. So the establishment did not win this time in my town. There's new blood in there for my township people, right? Two candidates. There's a board of 7 there. So we get 2 more candidates on there from a Republican side. We have a Republican majority inside of our town, right? So and the number one thing I said out of these guys when they came up, and I swear to God, and my wife will laugh. I'm sitting there in my underwear. Nobody pulls down my driveway, right? So here I got this new candidate coming in, the new establishment coming in. I must have made a terrible impression, but regardless, now we got some new blood in there, right? Now they're not going to look at, hey, we need to work with some of the constituents inside of our town to hear the problems. That's what I told them. I says, you guys are the liaison between our township and our county. You need to step up to the bat. And this is exactly what I told them.
Yep, that's important. And that's what we need to do. And hopefully we will have a lot of just rallies getting behind these candidates that won their counties and their their positions, and get behind them and work for them and help them out. I hope a lot more people step up. I really did, I know that they said, turnout was dismal and everything, but I have to say in my area, which is we're a red area, which still blows my mind that Mikey Sherrill won Morris County. Everybody was voting. Everybody put their stickers out on Facebook. Everybody. And I have a lot of followers on Facebook. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but and it was really refreshing to see everybody being so patriotic and really saying, telling people, get out and vote, get out and vote. Like, this was the most I've ever seen people doing it. And I was really proud of that. it wasn't a presidential election this time, and people were really saying, if you don't vote, then don't complain. If you have to be in it if you want to make a difference, you have to be there. You have to get involved. So we'll see what happens, and I hope that people stick to this and still come together. Like I said, there was 3 candidates that got all big numbers. They were very close. I mean, that's close. It wasn't like a blowout with anybody. So hopefully everybody will come together. Not like what happened with the Chitterelli thing.
Well, I
Yeah.
would say we're still going to experience some of that. See, like the Republicans here are very stubborn, right? That's why the Republicans haven't taken control, because they can't be unified, right? Realistically, the first time go around with Jack, he lost because of the Rizzo camp. This time around, he lost because of the Spadia camp. They are not going to vote. But I'll tell you, when these candidates came, the establishment didn't say anything but this guy that just got, he stuck his foot in his mouth. He told me, he says, hey, we're going to make sure that we have monthly town halls. This way we can listen to the constituents. Oh, dude, you better have your act together. You better be holding these things, because, hey, I voted for it because I want the change.
100%. So do I. And like I said, we just need to stick behind the candidates that have won, whether we voted for them or not. And, we just have to, 100%. So do I. And we just have to, we have to keep fighting. So that's what's important. And,
so
can't let our foot off the gas.
I wanted to go to the polls yesterday, but I just didn't have time. I was behind on some of the work that I had going on, so I couldn't really do it. But in November, on that election day, I can't wait to do that space, because hey, I'm definitely going to be interviewing those people that come out of the polls. And it's funny. I was going to make the effort to do this, but when I talked to the woman, and these women have been there at that table my entire voting career, right? Every time I go in, it's usually the same ladies. This time it was a little bit different, but I asked. I says, hey, how was the outcome? Hey, she said it was slower than slow. She said she doesn't remember an election that was this slow. And that's the problem, right? It's the most important, regardless of the November election. This one, your vote counts more now than any time. It's brutal, because people do not understand that they need to be turned in from 1x4 voters to 8x8 voters. That's what they need. They need to vote twice a year.
Yeah, people just don't understand, and a lot of people, unfortunately, are deflated. They feel like it doesn't matter. I'm already looking under the posts of what Dawn Fantasia posted and I reposted. I quote tweeted her. And the people underneath are just like, they're just negative. They're like, this is not going to matter. It's not going to happen. I don't know why you're even bothering. Well, you can't be that way. You just can't.
Well, I understand. A lot of people are disenchanted. They think, just because their voices aren't getting out, their candidates aren't winning. Oh man, they're stealing the election. But I just have to say, when I went in there yesterday, even though they didn't check my ID, and I got my ID right there, and if they asked for it, I would snap it down on the table. But they don't ask for it, but they do verify. Right. So, I mean, they're asking me my birth date, my address, my name. So, it's kind of hard, because these people all know it. Right. They know a lot of the constituents that come in there and vote. So to have this cheating metric there, especially on the primary, I think the primaries are more clean than any other election.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not saying that. When I went yesterday, I said that. I said, "Do you want to see my ID?" He said, "Oh no, that's not needed." And I'm like, "Really?" I said, "Really? They should have. You should be checking IDs." And he goes, "What's your address?" And I just said my address. That's it. He didn't ask my birthday, nothing, just my address. So, And I went in and voted, and then this time their newer machines, or I wasn't quite sure if I remember with the when it's the primaries. If you're a registered Republican, you only see with the Republican choices. If you're a registered Democrat, you'd only see the Democratic choices. I'm not really sure. But
that's because it's a closed primary, right? So when you go in there, New Jersey is different than a lot of other states, right? We have a closed primary. If you're not a Republican or Democrat, you do not vote in this primary.
Yeah, no, I know that. But when usually on the screen, you would see all the candidates that are running, whether it's Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, but that's only in the general. That's only in the
just for
general.
the presidential.
No, it's only on the general election. It happens every year, but because it's a closed primary, when you go in and you have a big R next to your name, well, they're going to give you the Republican ticket. There's no independent ticket. There's no Democrat ticket. Now the independents can register as Republicans or Democrats, but that's the only way that they're able to actually contribute into the primary process.
Gotcha. Because I never saw it that way for some reason. This was the first time I ever remember just seeing one side. And I vote every election. Trust me.
I wanted to take a picture and I forgot to take a picture.
Oh, well, I sit there and I wait, because we have that, that long paper that goes in and everything. And then I look at it 3 times to make sure that it's correct on what I was doing. But I did notice one thing that, it was real sensitive. Like if you hit, like, there was one, like if there was nobody either running against them, or you wanted to fill in another person's name, it was sensitive. Like even though you were hitting that person's name, it was coming up right, your write-ins. And I was like, I had to keep going back out and going back in. I was like, what the hell? This is so sensitive. So I hope that doesn't happen once the general election comes up, because I don't want to have wrong things. So make sure everybody is checking their ballots before they got shot up the thing.
Jeff Van Drew, well, it gets shot up the thing, right? But, again, they hand you a receipt and they hand you the ballot. The ballot goes into the machine, it scrolls up the machine, and then, hey, you're able to cast your vote. At the end of it, it brings it back up so you can actually see the card and you cast your vote, right? Hey, and just quickly, Jeff Van Drew went uncontested, right? So he's, going to be, the nominee for my district again.
Yeah, same thing here with Thomas Kane Jr. It's same thing. It's like they've been in these established Republicans are just in. Well, he was a Democrat, Jeff Van Drew, and then he switched over. That was what the big first rally was in Wildwood that time that you had gone to, but you said you didn't go in.
Yep. So, hey, remember, hey, I've been working on lots of things behind the scenes, hey, submitting legislation, even to Jeff Van Drew's office. And it's really a shame, Julie, because it really came down where they have just shuffled me to the side so many times because I haven't contributed to their political campaign PAC. That's why. Now, tell me, Andy Kim did the same thing. He's doing the same thing. They wouldn't accept my invitation to go to that town hall. I forgot to tell you that.
Oh, no, I did not know that.
Well, I think he probably did it to a lot, because remember, they're sifting through your name, right? They're looking whether you got an R or a D next to your name. Oh, the D they'll usher in, but the R's he's not going to do anything about it. He's one of the most outspoken senators in Congress right now. He's so leftist, it's insane. He was standing up there with Mikey Sherrill with the veteran thing, same thing.
Oh yeah, I have no love lost for him. He actually is putrid to me.
No, that's not the way he took his campaign. See, his district is in a lot of money areas, right? Morristown, Haddonfield, that's his district. He also the bottom part of the state is his district too. So we're it's it's really hard now that, hey, they're shuffling me to the side, the Republicans and the Democrats. That's that, they talk about uniparty. No shit. That's in full effect here, people.
Yes,
So we'll see.
and then you see what's going on in California. So they
didn't
Karen
complete the
Bass, they
vote
said
count,
what?
right? The vote count or something. They only had
It's
58% of the votes in, right?
It's going to go on for weeks. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Everybody else has come in with their winners and losers, except for California. It's going to be weeks. Isn't that surprising? Steve Hilton, I believe, is leading Becerra by a little bit right now, and Karen Bass, they put her as the winner, but it's too close, so there's gonna be a runoff with her and Spencer Pratt. And he's said today in a press conference that he wants to debate her once a week, and he's not going away. I mean, I heard people coming in from all over the place to vote for him.
I don't understand what the metric is there, right? Like Spencer Pratt is running on the Republican side. She's running on the Democrat side. I don't understand why there's going to be are they competing, or is he a Democrat, or I'm confused.
No, he's a Republican, but I guess because of the margin of the winnings, it was too close. So that's how they do it. I don't know if somebody from California wants to come up and explain that. I don't know, because I don't live there, obviously. But yeah, apparently he's gonna still be debating her. There's gonna be a runoff, or maybe, I don't know how that works.
Yeah. So, well, let's we'll give it a little bit of time. Let's. Hey, I did. Man, I got to go fishing on Sunday, and man, we caught some beautiful sea bass, and they are the most delicious things in the world.
Oh, that sounds delicious. Guys, I'm not the co-host here, but please go down to that Purple Bubble, like and reshare the space. Let's get it out there. Let's get some more people in here. We have lots to talk about. There was lots of elections last night. So if you live in a state that had elections and you want to talk about it, please grab a mic and Marlon will give it to you, and we will talk about it.
As soon as I pull over, Julie, I'll throw you the cover. Mad Dog, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Hey, Marlon. Yeah, what they have in California is what they call an open primary. And that's where anybody can vote for either candidate. And that's why when the top two, if the top candidate in the primary doesn't reach 50 plus 1% or 50.01%, which would be a win, an outright win, then the top two run off. And that's how they do that there.
So if Bass comes up and she's got 42%, and then you're going to come up and Pratt's got 41%, neither one of them hit the 50% mark because of all the other distraction of voters, Hassan or something along those lines. So you're telling me that, okay, so it's not a Republican Democrat thing. I see now. Okay, that makes much more sense.
Yeah, thank you, Mad Dog. I knew somebody could explain it better than me. I don't live in that state, so I didn't know. I just know that there's going to be a runoff.
Yeah, it's just a little strange. You mean to tell me if the Democrats outpace the Republicans, so you'll never have a Republican up there in the race, then, if Spencer Pratt, like, okay, they're here saying he's a Republican, but it really doesn't matter. If the Democrats outpace the Republicans, it's a slam shut.
I think he's talking to you, Mad Dog.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to understand it. It goes against everything I kind of understand as New Jersey, but now to watch that, if the Democrats outpace it, then Bass wins in a landslide.
Well, it's funny. I mean, there's like these mail-in ballots is really a problem, and there's a blatant thing that he was like, I have to find it. There was like a at 3 something in the morning or 3 something, whatever it was, there was this, very close race. And then at 4 something, there was another ballot drop, and Spencer Pratt got none. And she got she took this big lead. It's like very blatantly obvious. I have to find it. It just is incredible. And yet, people are okay with that. They're okay with that. It's just mind blowing to me.
Well, hey, in my particular town, it feels like there's a little change. Even some of the commissioners, there's one woman, actually, I didn't realize that she was running for commissioner, this Barbara, and she's been around a long time. She's been on school boards, and she's a pretty sharp lady. I'm anxious to see, because there's already 2 Republicans on the board now in our commissioners, and it's going to be that way for the next 2 years. So if we got 2 or 3, that would give it a majority. That would give us 4 Republicans to 3 Democrats. So maybe Gloucester County's going to turn red. Oh, I don't know.
It'd be good. It would be good. I'm going to be moving down down that closer to that area eventually. I would love for that to happen.
Yeah, but here's the telltale, though, Julie. Right. And if we look at the amount of votes that the Democrats actually participated in compared to the Republicans, that's going to give us a good indicator on, and really Booker put that out, right? The Democrats are outpacing Republicans like 33% outperforming at these primaries. That's kind of what Booker put out.
Yeah. And I just don't understand it. I mean, I don't know. It's got to. I don't know why. I mean, this crazy stuff, And tomorrow is that green energy bill that they're going to ram through, and in Trenton, and it's not good. That's going to allow more of, that's going to keep with the windmills. It's going to keep going with these. They're going to do all these solar farms on waterways. It's just horrible. Not a good thing.
Well, this is where we have to be motivated with a voting quorum inside of each of one of our counties. Now, I can't go to Cape May County and bitch and complain. We need Cape May County's people to stand up and say, hey, Cape May County should not be going along with this, and explaining the reasons why, right? When you can give them the evidence, submitting it in the public forum, they're the ones that got to speak up and fight back, right? So, it's going to be a difficult climb here going towards November.
Definitely. People have to get involved. And it's not anything that you need to run for some office. You just have to use your voice, and you have to, be there, go to these meetings and speak out and speak for your community and what you want and what you don't want, and be informed. Know the reasons behind all the stuff that they want to do, so that you can fight fire with fire. But people are just not willing to get involved like that. And it's really disheartening.
It's the same. Okay, Ken Paxton, he's going to have the same problem. He's got the same problem in Texas as any Republican representative here, right? Everybody thinks Texas is red, red, red. It's really not. And it shows inside the county. If the county just goes along with the state, your county is allowed to reject that. They can actually bring lawsuits against that administration if Gloucester County doesn't want to participate. But I got to have 15 or 20 people that are willing to step up. That's how we're going to be able to combat this, because our state legislature 54-27, and it ain't looking good for November. I can tell you that.
Well, that's why I was telling you yesterday about getting people together, and why, only certain people have been asked to do that. You know what? There's a lot of people that would be willing to help out. You got to reach out to everybody that you see posting anything on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, on these TikTok, or just that you see them at these, showing up to protests, showing up to, going to rallies and stuff like that, and get them to join with you. But that's not what's happening. So,
Julie, number one, the GOP, and we're going to go to Vinny, and then we'll go to you, Rule. hey, the GOP, their messaging blows here, right? They suck at social media and they're just not doing it. You know, TikTok, I put those couple of how-to videos for drywall out there. You know, it's really sparked my that TikTok is a lot better than X, right? That TikTok will take me to all the local people. That's why I wanted to do those videos and put them on TikTok, because that algorithm, hey, it clues you into the people that are paying attention in your own state. That's the difference between TikTok and like X. You think when you post to X, oh yeah, it's local. It's not. The algorithm is not set up that way. Vinny, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Let me, before Vinny goes, I just want to say really quick, I'm sorry, Vinny. So remember what I was just saying about this Karen Bass and Spencer Pratt thing? I just wanted to highlight this. When it was at 39.3% of the votes that were counted, Karen Bass had 117,579. Spencer Pratt had 323,000. Okay. When it went up to 42.4% votes in, Karen Bass had 130,000 and Spencer Pratt stayed the same. Virtually every candidate votes except for Spencer Pratt. How's that happening? And people are like, okay with that. It just blows my mind. Anyway, I just wanted to say that really quick.
It's funny. That's the same machine we all been crying about. Vinny, how you doing, man? Good to see you. And then we'll go to you.
I'm doing pretty good. You know what I don't understand in today's world is you have a number for everything. You go to work for somebody, you got an employee ID number, you got a social security number, you got a driver's license number, even your passport's got a number. I don't understand, to make this so easy, why and I've been thinking this for almost 15, 20 years, why wouldn't we have a voter ID number? That way when you go vote, you can go log on and say, okay, my vote counted for this guy or that guy, and that way, like when you die, you're immediately taken off the Social Security rolls. Boom, done. Okay, same way they could do on the voter rolls. But only thing I'm looking at is, like, all these people have their personal decisions, what they want to do in Congress. I still think if we had voter ID numbers, if they have a big bill like the SAVE Act, they should poll their constituents in that state or that county, and you vote according to your constituents. That's what they're supposed to do anyway by law. But we all know they don't do that. Same way with this Karen Bass, Spencer Pratt deal. You know, everybody knows it's blatant cheating, but if you had a roll somewhere, it'd be very easy. You know, hell, once you vote, you check, and that way somebody can, you know, say, okay, we're going to scan the voter rolls and make sure everything's right, because everybody knows they've been cheating for decades. You know, and because I've listened to a lot of podcasts, a lot of reports, I've read reports, even Trump mentioned it. How come all these races are like 49.2 to 50.8? You know, there's no way it's that close on all these elections, because you've went to these local elections, they're never that close. They go back to high school, it's never that close. You know, it's so stupid that we're gullible enough to believe that the races are that close, because I listened to a lady from Oregon yesterday. She said, my entire state, everywhere I go is solid red, but we're blue for some stupid reason. You know, and that's what I'm getting at. I think the blatant cheating has been going on for so long, we've accepted as part of the norm. Like those mail-in ballot drops. Everybody knows if it goes just to one candidate, come on now, what's the odds of that? Because they proved that in the 2020. You know, that's 1 in a trillion for that to happen. But they keep doing the same thing. And, you know, Trump talks about watermarks and this, that, and the other. But when you got human interaction, you know, there's a chance for cheating right there. But like this, you know, one county, this lady did a poll. This is in 2020, and she said all the people come out saying Republican, which they could have been lying. But she said, but then all of a sudden our county turned blue. So that's what I'm saying is it's so blatant, and I think we got to be more aggressive. You know, once, you know, we have the Senate, we have the House, we have the presidency. I know this will take a long time. We'll say a couple of years. It'd be a huge learning curve. But when you register, you know, hey, you got a number. Okay, that way it goes into a database. That way, say 2 days after election, let me see if my vote did count for Republican or Democrat or Independent. But nobody cares about that stuff because they're so worried about all the rhetoric that's going on. It's like, wait a minute, how did this happen? Like California, every time I see all these videos, it's so red, but you can't, there's no way you can convince me that many people are that stupid, especially with this Karen Bass, as much as she just run LA into the ground. Okay, I'm going to land with that. I just want to put my 2 cents in.
Vinny, you know what? That particular problem that you're talking about, the vote counts, right? I mean, you know, look, we're not even seeing the adjudication process of all the early vote action here. right? And a lot of the times, and especially in 25 with Jack Chitterelli going against Spadia and then going against, Mikey Sherrill, you could see the early vote metric was just applied to that day. I think yesterday, I think a lot of people showed up at the polls. That you can't say it by my township or my county because they said it was slow. So, it's just, man, even if it's slow, they're not just doing Republican votes, they're doing Democrats too. So I'm wondering how they're outpacing us, right? Those would be the numbers. People don't vote, right? They don't vote back and forth on each party, right? People just do not vote that way. How we're going to explain it, Vinny, I have no idea. Voter rolls, I did say that they did verify my vote. I mean, if you went in there and you didn't have verification, I don't know that you're going to be able to vote that day, or they're going to make you fill out a provisional.
But what if your vote was flipped and you had no consequence? You had no idea it was flipped, because that happened.
Vinny,
in the last election, they said all these,
Why don't we just get a receipt?
Go ahead.
Wait. When they give me they give me a receipt, and they also give me the ballot. The ballot runs in the machine, it goes up the machine, and they take the receipt. You know what? Damn it! I'm so stupid. I should have taken a picture of that. I don't know why I didn't. I wanted to. It's so dumb. Why can't we just get a confirmation? Now you're supposed to be able to go on and log in on the computer and be able to know where your vote counted. But when the Republicans win the two biggest towns in the county, and they win township seats, but they don't win a county seat, that just shows me that, there's no way, like you're saying, there's no way that vote is that close.
No, not at all. And by the way, letting you know, you're talking about sheetrock. I'm actually bidding out houses today because I'm actually running around going to my suppliers and my subs, doing the same thing you do. I'm in a truck right now. I'm going to my supply house right now and drop off plans.
Well, you know what, Vinny? It's the materials through the roof. When you go look at the metal products, you look at sheetrock, and you look at all these four major companies, all have price increases all at the same time. There's collusion going behind all of it, brother. It's just I'm just a little guy on the post here. So yeah, I'd be wondering, Vinny. Yeah, you send me a DM later on. Get that pricing, man. I'd like to see the difference here.
Well, you know what was really weird, and I know we're changing subject and everybody's talking about politics, and I hate to bring this up, but about a year ago, prices bottomed out. I don't know if most people know that because I follow the wood market religiously. I have to in my line of work, when it comes to OSB and price per square foot on 2x12s, 2x4s. But for some reason, I don't understand why it just jumped up. Same way with the gas. I just feel like it's a a cash grab. It's like they're trying to make the best of a bad situation at the taxpayer or the homeowner's expense, and that really pisses me off.
Well, dude, it hurts us. It's the guy that's carrying no insurance can go in there and do it lower than I can, Vinny. Right?
I hate them problem, bitches.
Dude.
Yes,
and you know what? It's really our fault. It's the people that agree with this, right? They're paying them in a black market. Vinny, I could go on forever. I could do a space.
Oh yeah, me and you both, brother. I promise you. It infuriates me. Well, this guy underbid you by almost $6,000. Okay, well, where's the general liability and workman's comp? Can we see that? Oh yeah,
brother.
All right, man. I'll let you go. I know we're talking about this. I'll keep listening. I'm fishing, walking the supply house. I got to drop these plans off, and I'm gonna continue listening. Y'all have a great day too. By the way, roll tide.
Roll tide. Good to see you, Vinny. Rule, how you doing?
Good, y'all. Thanks for having me up. I just wanted to hopefully provide some clarity and some motivation. I actually was DMing Julie earlier when you guys were talking back and forth about, the huge disparity between Republican voters and Democrat voters. And a lot of it just comes down to the NGO infrastructure that the left has in comparison to the right. So they have voter mobilization units, right? They have, places where people can go to get signed up for Medicaid, Medicare benefits for illegal immigrants, help them get registered for vote. These are all like separate NGOs, and there's hundreds of them in each state, right? And all this is to get voter turnout. But you said something earlier that really rings true, and you were talking about the low voter turnout in this country. That is what Islam or Iran, Iraq, anywhere over there, any foreign adversary that our country has banks on our low voter turnout. And so the only way we can turn this tide, there's nothing illegal with the NGO network. Is there some transparency and some accountability, lack of oversight? Sure, right? Are people who are donating maybe being told one thing and another thing's being done and they're being taken advantage of? Sure. But the infrastructure that they do have is 100% legal, and it's something that more Republicans need to get involved in. So if you want to get involved and you want to help, go set up a nonprofit and educate students on politics, or create an NGO that's based on voter mobilization. Like, provide some sort of service or infrastructure that we can use. And because all of us are working our normal day jobs, these guys have all figured out how to take advantage of the infrastructure in the giant grift, right? So these guys are getting paid to protest. They're getting paid to do, door knocking, right? Those are things that the right really stinks at. And you also mentioned the GOP messaging, the social media. Yes, that is a huge problem, and we're showcasing that right now in Nebraska. But
oh, they suck, Rule. They suck so bad. They look, not only the TV, the radio, they're back to back, dude. There is so much NGO money to grab these even state seats like LB4, even my own district, number 2. I mean, there is so much money that's involved there. People have no idea on how bad it hurts us. It really does.
If you look and just look at like the conversation around dark money and NGOs, that didn't start, it just didn't, it started randomly about last summer, maybe a little bit before that. But the difference is that the left has this giant NGO network, but then there's Turning Point on the right. Turning Point saw the NGO network, was exposing it. They said, hey, let's build one for the right, but let's do it right. Let's do it transparent, and let's support principled ballot initiatives. Let's support principled ideas, right? And it became the opposite of what the left built, but it was more powerful, and it's because of the messaging. So if the GOP and us as citizens can get motivated and get our messaging correct and start building out an infrastructure, we can absolutely compete with these people. But until then, you're going to continue to see hordes of money being pumped in by Soros, Open Society Foundations, into the 1630 fund, and all this is going to get pumped into these NGOs, and it's going to keep working against you. So we have to get motivated on the right to actually speak up and find a way to make a difference.
Rule, I said this a couple of weeks ago that I was going to do this. I had met a gentleman from the VFW, troop number 2293 out of Runnymede, New Jersey, right? And this guy, it was funny, Rule, we come on these spaces, we talk about these problems. And it's funny because, hey, he said the same exact thing. Hey, how are we going to, there's a lot of Democrats that are veterans. There's a lot of independents that are veterans and a lot of conservatives that are veterans. I think that, hey, we have to have some kind of unification message to go back in and start with our voting quorums inside of our towns. As soon as you can come, prepared enough to have people standing behind you when you go up and you submit this evidence at those, meetings that you're able to talk at the end, right? You're able to go and talk. But what most people don't understand is you're actually submitting evidence when you're talking in those meetings, in those public portions that they put at the end of those meetings. This is where you can start infecting it, right? And having voting quorums come up behind us, especially veterans. I don't care if the veterans, Democratic, Independent, or Republican, there's not one person there that's in that VFW that knows that their benefits should be raised. Right? Like, I don't understand why these, campaigns, candidates aren't really talking about the issues that are affecting Americans every day. What if they took up a message about, hey, what we got going on in the background with ARA, right?
That's why these grassroots campaigns are kicking butt, because the GOP messaging or even the Democrat messaging, it's all coming from the same consulting firms, right? And they're getting paid on those narratives, right? So they're getting paid on nothing being done, and they're just treating these politicians in open seats like like cattle, right? There's a price on them, and I've never seen anything like this before. But the amount of money that's pouring into local seats, like school board seats from outside, like open society, is insane. Like you've never seen
Now,
historically.
there are rules here, right? There are rules about, hey, those school boards are supposed to be non-denomination, right? That you cannot have your Democratic Party or your Republican Party actually contributing to the campaign of the school boards. Not allowed to do that. It's against the rules here.
No, but they can create a website for you, a shell website, and accept Act Blue donations, right? And go out and collect donations from people like you and me and tell you it's for one thing when in actuality it's for another, right? They've all figured out a way to scam and grift off of it.
Well, hey, and some of the people that really have been voting for a while understand what's going on. Yes, that's where we're getting beat. You know, it's like we watched Mikey Shirley and Moldami get voted in 25, right? I mean, you know, realistically, and Divisive comes on and say that, you know, and if you actually look at the interaction numbers, they're killing it, right? They don't have the right messaging, but they are telling them, hey, we're going to do this for you. We're going to, you know, clean up your student loan. And if you vote for us, you know, and these younger crowd is definitely motivated to go vote. But I don't know. We'll see. I want to see some numbers. Hey, how many Republicans actually contributed into this primary? How many Democrats? You know, look at the numbers of the independents that supported either side, or you know, there is some number metrics here that will give us a better understanding. Hey, it's a lot of work. You know what I mean? You got to take the time to go and figure this information out. It's hard. It sucks, man. That's why a lot of people don't do it. That's why it gets lost in the mix, and you're going up against NGOs that have an unlimited amount of money.
It's amazing, though. The more I've been speaking up, I've actually been covering that NGO network in Nebraska for about 2 weeks. And the amount of people at the top of the chain of the Republican Party here locally have reached out. I've met up with them. I've met with 3 mayors. I'm meeting with the Attorney General next week. And I didn't expect any of this to happen. I just started speaking up because I started doing the research and following the money, and then following the narratives and the rhetoric, right? You know, and then following data Republicans research and you know, and everything kind of added up. But the opportunities that are going to come my way now because of that research are insurmountable. People are talking to me about setting up a nonprofit to help and connecting me with Turning Point. And so who knows where it's going to go.
Well,
speak up, people.
Well, you know what, hey, and you know, there's some people around that have a great voice. You know, hey, they are good leaders. They're able to pick out the problems. But again, I think more of the social media aspect than the GOP's messaging here. But what am I to believe? Am I to believe the GOP that's the establishment, or am I to believe the new GOP that just got voted into my town? How do I go about this? Do I listen to maybe the people that have more connections inside the county and state, or do I go with the new guys, or do I exploit each side of it? I laugh at myself because no shit, you got to think like that. I'm tired of watching the results here. Just like you said, Julie, you know, it happens easy, man. You get pissed off, your candidate don't win. But, you know, those candidates need to keep going. Barbara McCormick, she was a retired lieutenant colonel out of the Air Force, and she captured some of the vote share in LD4, right? She captured about 21% of the vote. And she's like, we didn't do very well and this and that. I'm like, this is the first time you ever put your hat in the ring and you came out with a 21% vote share inside of your local. You're winning. So that means, hey, don't quit. Make sure that you go to each one of these towns, support the undercard in November. This way, hey, the next time her name comes up, man, they're going to be much more inclined to vote for her because, hey, I've heard Barbara McCormick before. Wow, you know what? Hey, she did hey, work on the 21% that she did gain. That's where a lot of people lose it, right? Yeah, I lost, I quit, blah, 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 blah. But if you use that vote share for the next time around, the next chair that's available, whether it's, a state assembly seat or it's a township, your vote share is higher than the next person coming up, whether they have money or not. So it's a defeatist attitude at the end. Hey, maybe we could say hello to Rusty. Rusty, how you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Yeah, so you guys have kind of run the gamut on it. I guess I think about, geez, man, our voting is so messed up. I do not believe for 1 minute that Georgians, voted overwhelmingly for Trump and then voted for 2 Democrats in the Senate. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, this has been going on for way too long. And then when you see what happened in our midterms that we just had, it's so clear to me. Like, I was one of the Republicans that oversaw my county elections. And when I saw the numbers that came out of there and who they voted for, I called 2 races. I was like, this is rigged. I live in this county and I know it's rigged. It was the Secretary of State and the Lieutenant Governor race. And I said, now, wasn't that surprised by the governor race? Because you have that Rick Jackson guy. He's been out there. I mean, you say whatever you want to. I mean, I'm definitely not for him. I believe that he was kind of a Kemp establishment pick because he, entered the race, 3 days after the Fulton County raid? You know what I mean? When they realized, Brad Raffensperger and Chris Carr, our Attorney General, they're going to get caught up in this. You know what I'm saying? After that raid, I think that's when Rick Jackson entered. But when I saw what happened with the Secretary of State race and the Lieutenant Governor, I knew then. I was like, this is bull crap. Nobody's ever heard of this Tim Fleming guy. You know what I mean? And this Kennedy guy, there's no way, but knowing, like Kennedy, there's no daylight between him and Kemp. So it's obvious to me that maybe they'll end up giving Burt Jones the governor race. But if they've got, the lieutenant governor who controls the Senate, what gets brought to the floor of the Senate, you know what I'm saying? If they got the Secretary of State hemmed up with, you know what I'm saying? Because of course, the current establishment that we have in Georgia, they don't want to clean, they can't afford to have somebody come in that might look at election integrity. Why? Because all the fingers go pointing back to those guys, right? So they're trying to keep their grift going on. I don't really know how that changes, but look, what I wanted to impart with you guys, one thing I've learned is your GOP is a lot more powerful than you may realize. I mean, it really, really is. So I went, and I know some of you guys have probably already heard me say this, but it was probably about a month or 2 months ago. We had our district gathered together, and we had our representatives were there. And I found it very interesting. The GOP, like, I had to fight just to get involved in my GOP, and they had dissolved my county, so I'm a chair now. But they didn't want me to be in there. You know what I'm saying? I got denied the first few times, but we found a workaround. But I found it very interesting going and seeing my representatives, and they were for a lot of MAGA things, but they were getting pushback from the GOP, from the individual counties. You know what I'm saying? So this is so much more important than I think people realize. You've got to get involved to show, some of these representatives, they may have the MAGA attitude, and they, but are getting the wrong message from the GOP. And that's who they know that they have to go to, who's going to be going out knocking doors for them. So it's just so much more important than I think a lot of people realize to get in there and let it be known. I had to tell them, I was like, no, even though my district chair was sitting there saying, no, we don't want school choice. Yes, we do. The individual voters want school choice. We want to get these illegals out of here expediently as fast as we can. I mean, we want these things, and you've got a lot of the GOP leadership saying something different. So it's just important. I just can't stress that enough. How important.
Rusty, it was something that I haven't heard in a while. But there used to be a lot of people that came onto this app and they were saying, "Oh yeah, go get involved. There's vacant seats. Let me tell you, when you go into this, it's exactly what it says. It's the grand old party. That's what's going on behind the scenes, right? Now, again, Rusty, you weren't in here before. I explained that my GOP now has 2 GOPs in my town, right? Because they can't get along with each other. They can't support any of the policies, and their messaging sucks, right? You want to talk about, hey, messaging, why do I have some of the GOP? Oh, they don't, those guys, they're on the left, they're extreme right or whatever. I mean, I think that there was a misconception about people that walked into their GOP and expected the red carpet to be rolled out. That shit don't go like that.
Oh, I'm telling
you have to.
It's the consulting firms. That's
well, you're exactly right. And Rule, I'm going to tell you, right? Those consultants are working for both sides all at the same time. My county, Gloucester County, had invested so much in this consulting firm, but here we find out that, hey man, when he's sitting in a meeting, he's sitting next to the #1 go-getter for money in the county on the Democrat side, Steve Sweeney. There he is. He's up there kissing his ass because he knows he's pumping money at them. I'm talking about the uniparty behind it. This is the same shit. You'll have the same guy that will go in and invest in the weaker Republican to really degrade that campaign from the real Republican. And then this way, hey, the weaker Republican wins the primary. He goes up against their Democratic nominee, and it's a slam shut case for the Democrats to win in November. These are all the tactics that, because, God.
Well, and I go back to, so the people that are doing it the right way, the people that the county GOP that are in there that are doing it the right way, they have no help. You know what I'm saying? I don't get paid to, you know what I'm saying, to do anything that I do, right? But and I go back to, I don't even know what to tell you. I try not to sound too defeatist, but knowing what I know about elections, especially in Georgia, I don't really want to voice too much how I feel about that because I don't want to make anybody think it's not worth it to vote, right? But that being said, you can still make change if you're in your GOP. These representatives march through there at election time. You get to meet these people, shake hands with them, exchange phone numbers with them. You can still affect change, is what I'm saying. Even if you're not the head of your GOP, you can still meet these people and exchange numbers, and you can call them when it matters, when you really want to press them on an issue. You know what I'm saying? You got that contact. We've got to look at more than one ways to skin a cat, right? I mean, I guess is what my point is. I don't know you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know about election integrity. It's a mess. It's just a mess, especially in Georgia. But there are other ways that we can make changes, But you can't if you're not even there, if you're not even involved. If you don't even show up, it's like you can't win if you don't play, right?
Like I said, they're looking for people who are looking to be leaders, who have strong voices, like speak up. I mean, these people reached out to me. I didn't have to reach out to them, right? And that's how desperate they are. There is no, in Nebraska, we don't have a bench, right? Ricketts is holding the line right now for us at senator. He has a president. He wants to run for president. Once Ricketts leaves, man, this is going to be the Wild West when it comes to politics. And the same thing with our governor, right? He's got his own scandals, but he's very MAGA. He's focused on lowering our property taxes, and nobody else is. So it's like, well, we got to vote for him. We can't vote for, we can't vote for Democrat. Otherwise, we're just going to compound the problem.
Here's the problem, right? The problem is okay, taxes. Let's quickly talk about taxes, okay? With the occurring percentage of life. Wait, I'm losing my train of thought here. 1 second. So basically, when people say they're going to go raise taxes or they're going to lower taxes, do you know that's actually virtually impossible? Do they realize that? Unless they're going to remove people out of those positions inside the township or the county, it's almost impossible to lower taxes.
Well, for us, it is because we're so dependent on those property taxes to run so many different programs here. But, the thing is I think all of it is possible, and it's hard to have a discussion on what the solution is on how to go about it until we can root out the waste, fraud, and the abuse, right? And there seems to be only one side of the aisle that wants to root it out. But I 100% think we can.
But again, I think it's a waste of time. Don't get me wrong. People want to hear that. They want to hear that out of the people that are running for the township. They want to hear it out of the people that are running for the county. They want their taxes lower. But unfortunately, start educating the people and realize that the cost of living goes up by like 4% every year. So if you could imagine all of those people that work inside the county, all the people that work inside, all of them get a 4% raise every year. Right? It's almost impossible. Run on the issues that, hey, are slapping us in the face. Food prices, the price of fuel. Start fighting back on the state of New Jersey on the amount of tax that we have on our fuel. We have like $1.10 in state tax just on our gasoline, bro.
Yeah, well,
right?
they just increased.
They don't know how to fight back.
The tax in California, they just increased from 61 to 63 cents. But I'm talking about property taxes specifically. We shouldn't be paying property taxes, right? And that's the trend. You're seeing it all across the country, and that alone would free up tons of money for people that could help pay for their student loans, right? Because there's a lot of people that are struggling to pay for their house and their student loans. Right. So,
well, look, I understand that the Trump administration is putting this out. I know property taxes are unconstitutional. I mean, I get it. Right. But, look, in New Jersey, 58.6% of that property tax that you're paying, because I pay about 10 grand a year, 58% of that goes to schools. Right. Now, you're watching the abuse that's going into these places. Right. So 58% of the taxpayers' money, how much is actually going to the county? Right? Only about 15% is going to the county. And then there's all these other criterias, state tax and, all this other things where some money's applied. They're not utilizing the money that they have coming in now. So in my particular county, I have, and this isn't even close to North Jersey, right? For the same house in North Jersey that I'm spending 10 grand in, it would be 20, right? Some of the people in some of these higher neighborhoods, Haddonfield, Moorestown, Medford, these people were paying $35,000 a year in property tax. Right? That's a lot of change.
It's unbelievable, actually, Marlon.
Right? I mean, my taxes, for me to have my taxes go, it's actually more than my mortgage.
Yeah, you can make an exception, like to where it's primary, your primary residence, right? So your main home. Like if you only own one home, you don't pay fucking taxes on. Sorry, excuse me, you don't pay taxes on it. But if you own 3 or 4 homes, well, you're going to pay taxes on 2 or 3 of those homes.
But then you got even the Democrats looking at what Mondami's doing, right? He's saying, hey, anybody with any kind of value or a second home or third home or an apartment, a flat, and it's worth over $1 million, these guys are now going to pay the bill from everybody escaping out of New York. If I owned something in New York, I'd be letting it go. That's why they have such an influx running out of.
No, I'm saying nothing would change. Nothing would change. You're not changing the property tax structure from where it's at, right? You're only allowing middle class or like a certain threshold up to a $250,000 home.
Yeah, but Rule, that's not true, right? That's not true because, hey, in my own county, we used to have like 150 employees, right? They all, hey, this is a great job. You know, you get a job at the county, you go through retirement and all that. And you know, over the last 20 years, you know, it's been whittled down to a smaller percentage. There's only 15% of those guys that are actually hired on in the county, comparative to what it was. But in my head, I'm knowing that the administration that's behind my county, there's still the same amount of jobs, right?
I'm
So
not saying
they only
that-
cut the workforce, they didn't cut the
I'm
administration.
not talking about a blanket solution here, right? I'm looking at what Florida is doing specifically and how many other states are trying to follow a similar pattern. And a lot of it has to do with the problems in New York, right? People are fleeing New York, but then they're going down there, right? And so they're trying to figure out, well, how do we curb the domestic migration issue, because it's going to impact the cost of living down in Florida as well. So they're going through and they're trying to put a 5-year cap. If you've been here for 5 years or more, and this is your primary residence, you will not pay property taxes. Good luck running against that.
I hear you, but it's a lie. That's the problem. At the end,
It's in motion.
Yeah. Hey, let's. Luke, how you doing?
I'm doing good, sir. If you want me to keep on topic about New Jersey, I've got a scandal about Union City, but what's really affecting me the most is the massive takedown of the gay dads on Twitter, which is an account of Barry Drew Barlow, who runs businesses in America in a global human trafficking and pedophile ring. I worked with the first CPAC speaker ever.
Yeah, sorry, Luke. I know where that discussion's going. You sound like a paid operative, dude. Right? Now that's the deal right there, people. Right? You see Luke, I follow him or whatever, but you know, there's a troll, there's a minion, right? Wants to come in and change the subject in these spaces. It's just not going to happen anymore. Like, Luke, I'm telling you right now that I have zero patience. I have zero patience for that talk. I have zero patience about the Jew talk. I'm not going to put up with it. And to blast the gay people that are on this app, forget it, dude. You know, you haven't been around long enough. So that's the end of that discussion.
He's gone.
Come on. It's quite comical, isn't it?
Well, I was looking at his profile and I saw him, and then you brought him up, so I was like, all right, well, you're not done with him.
Well, you know what? I think a lot of people don't see this coming, right? Hey, that clown comes in here and he tries to change the subject and wants to bash gays and everything. And he doesn't realize how diverse this community really is. So, you know what? They can all go pound sand. I really don't care. Give me a solution, dude. You know, whatever subject that he wanted to talk about, what's the solution? It's a nothing conversation at the end. You get nothing out of it. That's why I can't even entertain it anymore. That's where the waste of time comes in. Wasting time. Anyway. Anybody else got anything to add? Now you kind of felt the Marlin vibe today.
Yeah, well, you know, it's just like I said, you know, whether the turnout was dismal for the GOP in New Jersey, you know, I know a lot of people voted around in my surrounding area, so I'm not going to sit there and put down those people, put down the Republicans that came out in my area, because there was a big turnout. It's just that, you know, I'm going to go back to the fact that, you know, there is no leadership. There's no discussion on any or all of those candidates. And so that everybody had a clearer view and why it's important that we get out and vote. But that's not even being pushed. It's not being looked at into, you know, you know, we get the same thing, Marlon. You're going to get that all the time. You're going to get the people that come in. Well, you know, there was the Republicans didn't come out and vote. Well, maybe they, you know, if we had better leadership at the top level of the GOP saying, hey, listen, this is why it's so important that you get out and vote. I never get any door knockers on my door. I never get any pamphlets in the mail. I get nothing. And that's
did you hear anything on the green energy plan here in New Jersey? Does the New Jersey residents realize that the windmills are still going? Empire Wind is still going.
That's why I was saying tomorrow that bill is going to go in front of the Capitol. It's going to go in front of the state there, and
it's going fast.
Yeah.
So
I put it out there, and I told everybody to call and write in. No on this bill. Don't pass it. A lot of people, were commenting on it. So I'm hoping that those people that commented really made those phone calls and sent those emails and passed along this message, because we don't have the majority in our legislature to make that difference. So we have to be on our toes and speak up and, tell them that we don't want this. It's not going to do anything, and have your receipts behind you.
I mean, I didn't hear anything about sexualization in our schools. I didn't hear about feminine products. That state of New Jersey spends $7 million a year on putting feminine products in boys' bathrooms. I mean, if I was running for office, again, it was kind of slap in the face. You think that, hey, the letdown off of this app, that, hey, the average public isn't talking about these subjects, but they are, right? They're just as worried about these subjects that we talk about in here all the time. Our food sovereignty, child trafficking, the green energy process. They are shrouded from our educational institutions here. Rutgers, Rowan University. These people are paid to push this narrative, and you wonder why the social media aspect works. Is because, hey, they're attacking them right here on this phone, and the GOP sucks at doing it. They're terrible. The grand old party. Remember, that's what GOP stands for, right? It's the grand old people behind that party. Let me tell you, Rule, you brought up a great discussion that, hey, these consultants, again, they are pushing narrative to make them money. Whether or not they're hired from the GOP in your county to represent and give these people all this advice. Well, if you watch this guy get voted in, that he was the #1 consultant, and you watch the GOP burn every year, don't you think it's time to change the consultant firm?
Yep. I've been preaching from the top of a mountain about it. I've been tagging them all and telling them all, fire your consultants. Like, lean on the people. Our Secretary of State didn't use a consultant firm. He ran a grassroots campaign, connected with people on here, connected with people on the streets, and he won. He beat our Secretary of State, who's been here, who's been fighting against election integrity. So now our new Secretary of State's going to get in there, and he's going to secure our votes here, and among other things that he's trying to crack down.
But Rule, here's where it starts, right? Yeah, you might have the best Secretary of State that comes in there and really wants to whip this in, but until you contain those counties and understand that your county clerks are the ones that are running them elections, and that's probably one of the most important people to vote for, and he's the one that picks the team to go in there and review these elections. Everybody should know that, right?
Yep. So,
but a lot of people Rule. A lot of people don't, man. They have no idea. They think, oh, the sheriff is the one. No, the sheriff only enforces it. And when the sheriff brings up evidence and he takes it to the local DA in Gloucester County, that DA is not going to touch that case with a 10-foot pole. Mm-hmm. It is political suicide. Yeah, that's why we have nothing getting done.
And you notice these consulting firms are committing the political suicide on their own, because once Charlie was shot, that whole narrative towards the Jews and the NGOs really picked up, right? And it's really just been a deflection and projection, right? Because they're trying to point out, look, there's this NGO and it's really evil, and they stand for having more children and family and principled values. These guys are evil, attack them, right? But then nobody looks at the other side of that coin. And ever since then, it's been a systematic downfall of every politician that's using a consulting firm, because these consulting firms are making money on these narratives. They're making money on all of it. And so it's just it's sad to see how they're dividing us.
We saw that right here on this app.
Yeah,
you guys all listened to it on what it was. It was a bashing of every Jew that's in America, and they should be remorseful. And why is Israel instituted in our God? I mean, dude, we've heard it so many times.
And it gets old. It's so easy to see who sold out now. It's easier than many people think, and that, you know, they think that we're all just naive now. Now it's like, no, I see why you're getting paid. I see where this narrative was created, and that's the swamp, right? That's the swamp that he's talking about. So Trump has gotten rid of most of the swamp in Washington. Now it's our job to be motivated and to go out and vote and get rid of our local swamps, because that's the NGO network and these consulting firms that are driving all of this political theater, all this pay for play NGO politics that you see, and nothing gets done locally.
Go to these fundraisers.
Yep.
Right, and you can see every lobbying group that comes up there and writes a check. Right. Look, even the 2A people were manipulated here. You know, you got a green energy pack that has been the so closed mouth about the issues. I don't understand. Why do these people? Why are they the green energy pack? I don't get it.
Yeah. But look into all the NGOs, the messaging, it's all the same. Like, this NGO might be out trying to create climate deals and is fighting against AI infrastructure and fighting against all this stuff, eminent domain. Like, you see that, right? That's just might be one NGO. And this NGO is getting all these grants. They're getting all these donations through their website. The consulting firm's getting a cut off the top. So is the processor. These aren't actual grassroots donations. In my opinion, they're scamming people because they don't understand what they're actually giving money to. Like, if teachers knew that their union dues were going through 9 different layers and then back into ballot initiatives in their own state for transgender kids in schools, they'd probably be like, what the heck, you know? Like, well, I didn't know I was supporting all this. I didn't know that the Arabella Network was laundering all my money, and Open Society Foundations was also pumping money into this too. Like, nobody knows.
Do you think the young kids inside of Rutgers and Rowan University understand that our government, our own governor, was going to get a kickback from a federal assistance of $250 billion they were going to spread through all these people? Goldman Sachs, my governor, his wife is a 23% stakeholder, and these are the number one contributors. They're not only contributing to the money and the investment in the green energy process, they have gone down and they have hired these people to go in and solicit to our education forums. I'm talking about Rutgers and Rowan. They're on my list. This Heather Simmons that won the LD, she was a commissioner inside of my county. You know, this chick's got a building named after her in this Rowan University. Steve Sweeney, the crookedest clown in New Jersey, right? The Norcross regime. That's what it is. You know, and Rule, at the end of the day, do you realize that these companies that the Democrats are getting all this funding from, I'm talking about every doctor, lawyer, pharmacist, you know, they are going down systematically to ask these people for money. Do you know the Republicans are just as entitled to that money as the Democrats? Do you know it's state law that they have to actually contribute to both sides of the argument if you're a business here? They're not. The Republicans aren't even asking for the money.
Yeah, that's crazy. You should follow the 990s in New Jersey. Follow all the NGO networks. Follow it through 1630 Fund, Open Society, and I bet you can uncover the whole network there. And I'll bet you'll find out that Rutgers is also donating money back into these same initiatives that are dividing us, because it's happening here in Nebraska with the university.
Yo, so if you don't think it's any worse, right now, Rutgers, and I talked about this before, Rutgers has put a lawsuit, and they're going in front of Congress to ask for the money for this general contractor that was supposed to pay their rate for 3 years, right? So this general contractor pulled out, stopped all their payments, stopped on leases in Paulsboro, New Jersey, all of it, right? Now, Rutgers is going in front of Congress and asking them for the money to continue the green energy lie, right? If they knew, if the younger crowd knew on that, they gave legal whaling permits to Porpoise and Whales. our governor is going to get billions of dollars, fly away to a chalet in Italy. Meanwhile, hey, we're going to be stuck with the bill. Do you think that the younger people would agree with that? Do they really understand, hey, what's going on behind the scenes? They don't.
They don't. They just think they are being righteous, and then they'll donate money or they'll go knock on doors for these people. Like it's a giant honeypot, and I don't think people realize. Like I think that there are people that are NGOs that are victims, even though they're complicit, but they're victims because they fell victim to a honeypot. You know, you see it all the time in crypto, right? People will throw you a little coin, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're out promoting every day on the app for them, and then they throw you under the bus and rug pull, and then you look like trash. It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing.
Well, hey, I know. Look, New Jersey. We saw it in the voting yesterday. We saw that, hey, the local races won, but some of these other seats, there's some communists up there that actually won the primary. We're in a lot of trouble, right? I feel like, hey, what do you do? But if you don't understand what to do, maybe just starting to ask some questions and understanding.
incumbent Democrats concerned. Like they don't even know themselves how to fight this. Their party is being taken over by some absolutely radical people, and they're starting to lose races to these guys. And we know this, but for incumbents in the state legislature to lose their seats to the absolute radicals. Now, there's a good side to this. The crazier the Democrats get, the more attractive Republicans look. I'd really like to see some of these Democrats who are not crazy DSA. Because at this point, they themselves don't even know how to fight it because it's just taking over their party. It's pretty disgusting. And I'll tell you, here in Oregon, we just are just, don't count on us to help out on a federal level because there are just way too many crazy people. We had 120,000 signatures on a petition to ban not just hunting and fishing, but every manner of animal husbandry, raising chickens, cattle. You can't use a mouse trap for real. Like poison for rats or mice in your barn. No can do. That's against the law. This is how crazy this state is that 120,000 people signed this petition and they only needed 117,000 good signatures. Now, I don't think it's even going to make it unless they really push because usually 10% of those signatures get tossed being invalid. But that is how crazy this state is. The apathy. I mean, we did have a lot more Republicans come out in this primary, which is great because there was a gas tax thing on the ballot, but it's pretty bad here out west. I did recently. I don't know if you guys listen to prophets and whatnot, but there is a huge prophetic word given by Dutch Sheets with Oasis Church. They had a big revival thing. And they talked about revival happening in Salem, Oregon. That's the capital. Wow. I mean, it was a strong word. So that's all I got to hang on to because really crazy people have taken things over. And I don't see a huge urgency on Trump's part, especially with what's going on with Thune. I mean, what an ass he is. I mean, it's just bad. And I'm not seeing that. And that makes me really wonder. Where's the plan? What's the plan? Hope it's soon, because these people are nutty.
The Democratic Party has been taken over by the Democrat Socialists of America.
And I get that.
Wait,
what I'm trying to say is some of the.
Oh, go ahead, Susan.
Oh, I understand that, but I'm telling you, it's alarming. Some of the folks that are on the normal side of things. More normal Democrats that aren't socialists. It's alarming them, and they themselves don't know how to fight it. And my advice to them would be get out. Get out. Let them have their crazy party. Let them take it and come over to our side because we're not the crazy ones. They are.
Well, don't you think that's some of the problem? Because, hey, look, I can tell you right now, that not every Democrat agrees with what's going on in New Jersey. No way. If you have kids and you see what's going on with your educational system, you see how they manipulated our schools. There's no way that hey, they're agreeing with it. But the problem is that you have more motivated Democrat voters than you do Republicans. If they can outpace it, well, then you know what? Unless every Republican comes out, they're outpacing us.
Is it though, or is it just an illusion? And that's why the illegal immigration and the vote chasing is a thing. Because is it really have momentum, or is it propped up just like California's economy?
Maybe it should come out where explain some of these metrics, and it's not true. Go ahead, Mad Dog.
Susan, I gave you a follow. I'm connecting with all like-minded Republicans in Oregon. Anyway, She's absolutely right. IP 28 is an abhorrent bill, and I'm surprised it got onto the ballot, and it is on the ballot. They will confirm it.
We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, right, man?
Yes, we did. And it goes so deep. They didn't. If they investigate the signature gathering, I think that it could be pulled off the ballot, and I think there's an initiative to look into that. However, it is a godsend to Republicans, because what it's going to do is bring out the vote for not just Republicans, but everybody who hunts and fishes, who wants dairy, who loves cattle, who loves rodeos, who loves, anything to do with animals, who doesn't like rats and mice in their yard. And it's a fiasco for the state if it does pass, and it's so easy to fight against, and for any Democrat to come in and try to run with that, they're going to lose. This is going to turn the state of Oregon governorship red just because of this, because the people are going to look at the overreach that's happened in the state of Oregon. IP 28 is abhorrent, yet it is a godsend. And I'll land it there. But my brother, well, no, I won't. I want to say one more thing. My brother ran as a Democrat. And unfortunately, he ran in the same district that I'm a PCP captain for in Clackamas County. And he lost.
What was that discussion?
Well, I'm still trying to reach out to him to talk to him, but he lost his campaign against a radical lefty in his party. And I had lunch with him, or breakfast with him, about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks before the election. And I found out that my brother is a moderate, constitutionally conservative Democrat. He's the old school. And he's ashamed of his party. They ran against him. They pushed against him. They want him out. They don't want that style there. And he's
the JFK. He's the JFK Democrat.
So there's almost one in every state like that.
We're the older
yes,
right? When we grew up,
yeah,
there were Democrats that were very conservative.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to do my best to try to get him to come over to the other side. I doubt if he will, because he is, anybody that's a Democrat in the state of Oregon is mentally ill, in my book, even including my brother.
Can you do me a favor? Can you send me an invite to next Christmas? I just want to hang out and listen.
I'll do that.
I can't imagine what the dining room table discussion is there. I'm sorry. It's funny. Yeah, and then we'll go back to you, Susan. My brothers and sisters were very young. My nieces and nephews were liberal until COVID, until they understood what happened. Right now, they're not so democratic. How about that? And their questions have changed. So people can change. I get it. They hated me when I was doing it, though. We were the outcast. In fact, and Susan, I'll go to you right after. My father died the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and this is right during the height of COVID, right? 20, November 20, right? And my father insisted on driving himself. He was 86 years old. He insisted on driving himself to my sisters, and my mother was scared of him. But hey, he got there. He made it there. And when we came through the door, my kids were the first two who went up and squeezed their grandfather, right? And I looked at him because I got evil looks from some people in my family. Some people that were out of my family were giving me evil looks about having my kids wrap their arms around my father, right? And don't you know, that Saturday he passed away. Do you know my kids were the last one to hug my father because of COVID? They remember. They're the ones asking questions now. Yeah, Susan?
Yeah, Mad Dog, give you a follow too. Nice to meet you. I'm actually the chair of our county. And I saw You know, that just illustrates the point that regular Democrats are getting pushed out by these absolutely crazy people. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's time to abandon ship. Abandon ship. Let the crazies have it, because the crazier they are, the more people will drift our way. And, you know, we've got so many NAVs, even in our county. But I don't know if you found this in Clackamas County. I haven't looked at all the counties, but our midterms or our primaries had way more people coming out to vote. I think our county, the Republicans, it was like 63%, and definitely more than the Democrats. I was real sad.
Wait, Susan, did you just say 63% of your Republicans turned out to vote?
Yes, sir. Because we had a gas tax referendum. I know we had a gas tax referendum on there, and that really that brought people out. Yeah, it's normally all across the state. It's about 8% more came out because of that tax referendum, and that we got there. Which what more amazed me is that the person that brought us that referendum that made it such a success ended up losing the primary to Drazen, who's I'm not a fan of. But and I was really sad to see Ben West lost his race for commissioner. That was for Clackamas. That's unfortunate. But you know, Salem went all in for all the DSA people, from mayor to city councilors and all. I think we have one, maybe, that's a conservative on city council in Salem. It's pretty sad, really sad.
I feel like they won a civil war.
Hey, look, I'm happy in my town. The candidates that got put forward for county commissioner, they won. There's one particular woman on there I'm really happy that she did. That outside establishment won my township seat. Now I have two Republican parties, so I have the outside establishment that actually won the town. So in my town, in New Jersey, I'm a happy boy today. Yeah, Julie.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was just doing something. Whatchamacallit? Yeah, talking about like the established Democrats, the Democrats of the Kennedy era, the Democrats that were a different party even, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. They're just totally different now. Look at a good example is look at Chuck Schumer, a Jewish Democrat, an old time Democrat who's gone so far to the left. He's actually endorsing, and he's doubling down endorsing that Graham Plattner from Maine, who has a Nazi sticker on his chest, who every day there's another controversy that comes out about this guy, but yet he's to save his job, to save his own job. That's the way he's got to play. So he's falling into line, and the ones that are well, I guess you want to say quote unquote smart to stay in their races or to stay relevant, they have to go far, far left. And that's like unheard of. This guy would have been kicked out. If this was 10 years ago, this guy would have been kicked out. They would have primaried him out. They would have said, no, we are not having anybody like that. They, the mayor, is it the mayor of Maine? Or she was running, she didn't have the funds. You would think that they'd get behind her, give her the money to help her to stay in the race. They didn't. It's just crazy.
She must be speaking out, right? She's got to have a different alternative view and fighting back on some of the policies that's going on locally there. That's it. If they have identified her as the person that's going to run against them and hurt their pocketbook, they're going to vote her out. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
The governor of Maine, not the mayor. The governor of Maine, she was running for the Senate seat, and she didn't have the funds, and she's the governor, and she's Democrat.
Go ahead, man.
So in Oregon, we have a cabal that picks the Republican candidates and who's who they're going to give money to in the RNs or the ORP. Anyway, they're old school get along, go along to get along style of Republicans, and I don't know if they're anti and vote by mail. They want to keep it. They're pushing hard to keep mail-in voting for the state, and I don't understand it. I realize that we're probably not going to get end vote by mail out of Oregon by and vote by mail, but the reason why we want it on the ballot is to educate people, to make them talk about it, to wake up people about the corruption of it, and that's what I'm doing personally.
Before you go on too much further, did you see some of the pictures that I put in the bill of the fish I caught over the weekend? I want to point that out. Okay, have you seen it?
No, I haven't. I'll look right now.
Yeah, they're in the bill, right? You know what that bill that you're talking about. Hey, that would prohibit me from going and enjoying and exercising my right to be able to fish in this state. Now, in New Jersey, usually the test is very good. A lot of poor people live in New Jersey. And once they find out that that's going to be threatened, that may be a way to be able to, hey, spark those voters. Let's, look, I got no love for Pressler, but even Pressler came into the state. Oh, I want to go and I want to get into these gun clubs. Well, guess what? I know every gun club in South Jersey, you idiot, right? Do you think the guy would call me up? Do you really think the guy's there for the right reason? When you're registering voters in my own county, don't you think that social media guy would say, hey, you know what, Marlon, why don't you stop by? We're registering voters inside of your county, and you can give me a little justification. Like, dude, I'm tired of hearing these people come into my state because Pressler did it, and we lost miserably, dude. Right? So did it really help? At the end of the day, should it be us, the common citizenry, that's going to go and unite these people? There has to be something done there, man.
See, Marlon, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm doing. I'm with a group of people that are organizing to make the Republican Party, to reshape the image of it, to make it fun, barbecues, flag waves, just little events, and to educate them at the same time. And that's what I was talking about, this IP28. We're going to have posters and banners and flyers and stuff that they can look at and, come in with their kids and, just whatever. Anyway, that's what I'm doing.
Well, look, I get pissed off because people praise this dude. But, when he talked about tactics, when I saw him at his rally in Toms River or wherever we were, Asbury, wherever we were.
Seaside.
Seaside, that's right. And, this is the kind of speech that came out of the guy, and I specifically told them and his advisors, hey, man, I can get you into every one of them go. Regardless of whether you're flamboyant or not, I'll get them to listen to you. And they didn't take us up on it. I don't understand it. Were they really here fighting for the state of New Jersey in 25? You know how bad we lost? We lost miserably. We had repercussions in this primary from that election.
Absolutely. I mean, the race was called, like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes after the polls closed. How is that possible? Or we have other times it takes weeks to count. Now it was counted within 30 minutes. Really? It just doesn't make sense. And then that candidate, he ran and we all supported him and we were behind him 100%. And we advocated for him. We did what we had to do. We did our civic duty. And then he just disappeared. He didn't try to fight. He's not standing behind any of the candidates now, supporting anyone. You don't see boo from him. Boo. But he did that in 2015 as well. So I don't know.
He dropped off the map. And if I had a vote share like he did, I would have went around and strengthened every undercard inside of my district. If Jack Ciattarelli was running for governor, he should have been at that meeting supporting those Republicans at a local level. That's what I hope Doc does. Look, Doc came into the scene. He captured a large vote share. In my opinion, I think Doc's election should have been recounted. It should have went to another runoff like Paxton did, right? So, for me, I think the tactic is clear, right? And especially some of these people that say, oh, we can come in and change your state, early vote action. Did you only fuel the enemy? No shit, dude. This has been the grumbling behind it. You know that dude that you guys, everybody praised. Hey, I remember when he was in his car. I get it. I understand. But when you understand that the guy's been selling the information back to the enemy, now you realize why he's so popular. Why do you think the Trump administration didn't hire him? It's because he knows he's involved in the dark entity, the black money that's really spoiled a lot of these elections. So before you let these people just come in and dictate in your state or your county or your town, you should know who these people are.
Hey, I got to get running, Marlon. I got a meeting in a minute, but it was good chatting with everybody today. This was great convo.
Rule.
Thank you.
Hey, keep me in touch, and please, hey man, come back in and tell us what you're seeing. Maybe I can take some of the ideas because I am going to develop that voting plan.
I actually sent a bunch of examples.
Yeah, I have them, and I'll send them to Marlon, and maybe we can make up a good post about it. That would be great, and I really appreciate you sending that to me.
Yep, you're welcome. Hopefully, it gives you some.
Thank you, Rule. I think, like you said, if we just take those examples, even showing it here on X, but if you use the other platforms like TikTok and Facebook, we may be able to go at this thing a little bit different. That's where they beat it. They beat us in the social media.
Yep, they did.
So we need to either change the tactic, listening to the consultants that have been in our town for all this time. Those are the questions. When you go in and you go sit in those GOP meetings, that's the question you need to be answering. Find out.
And that's why Michael ran for the GOP, just for that very reason, because he is so out there and he's got such a following on all the social media apps. And even though he knew he wasn't going to win, they could have at least looked at him to run the social media part, behind the scenes, get the word out there. They see the content that he puts out, but they don't like that content. So they're not going to elect him, or they're not going to ask him to be a part of it, which is a shame. Just shows you how both sides are just dirty.
So okay, the guy's got a social media influence account. He's got all kinds of connections here. He's got a strong New Jersey base, but yet that campaign doesn't want to bring you in. There's a reason for that, right? You don't think that these politicians, these PACs are paid off? If you don't think that, you are very naive, okay? When they abstain from votes, they don't show up for the votes. This is the tactic, right? It doesn't show that they voted against the policy. Sure aren't there to put their vote in. So if you're not voting, to vote for the other side. Go ahead, Susan. We'll go to Rusty 10.
Susan just dropped, so we'll bring her back up. Go ahead, Tony. Sorry, Rusty.
No, it's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So on the patron saint of early voting, so yeah, you have to wonder. I always thought it was a very stinking bizarre how all of these influencers moved to Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Do y'all remember that? That was 2 years ago? I thought that was super bizarre. And then when you realize, yeah, but I mean, the larger point is you want to talk about the home of the rhino. Brian Kemp even goes to Bucks County, PA. You know what I'm saying? And to Pennsylvania to connect with those people before elections. I mean, if you just watch and see how these people move, and then you also dig a little bit more into, and I know you never want to, I don't ever mind doing it, but you do a little bit of digging on some of these people and you see kind of that they were basically used as a honeypot. You know what I'm saying? And getting popped at the RNC conventions and stuff like that, having like gay sex. I mean, I'm serious. This is all like legit stuff. You can track this stuff down to see the history of these people. And you also know, I'll tell you this too. Just from the GOP, like I said, I'm in Georgia, so we got a crap ton of establishment rhinos here, and they'll straight up tell you the majority of the Republicans are like low key gay. You know what I'm saying? And it's one way that they can, you know, like this is a real thing. I guess my point is you're 110% right, Marlon. You don't need people. You better know who's coming and messing around in your town, in your state, for votes. Because I would also say I really don't know how many situations he's actually helped. I'm being very serious. Like one of the first ones that I remember paying attention to was that judgeship that was in Wisconsin. I mean, that was, I don't know, heck, that was probably 3-4 years ago. And I actually was helping. I had early vote action. I'm gonna tell you what, if you still got that on your phone where you were helping, I'd get it the heck off of my phone if I were you. That would be one of the first things I would say.
Isn't it crazy? Okay, look, I don't care. I don't care how long you've been on this app. I don't give a shit who you're listening to. If you look at the evidence, if you knew that you had to win New Jersey, man, I'm there for Jersey. I heard Jersey for a freaking year. Guess what? Why wouldn't you come into probably one of the strongest Jersey presence here on Twitter? Why wouldn't you come in and say, hey, you know what, Marlon? Hey, I need your help. Hey, I need to do this. You know why? Because they knew I would see through the cracks. I would understand where the funding is coming in.
Well,
He knows that I know every state legislature in this part of the state, and that's why they didn't me.
Well, Marlon, too, also, when we started realizing, you remember back in the day of Phenom, when she used to do those spaces on election integrity, and we started really learning how they manipulate the system, the voting system, and it's through early voting, ballot harvesting, all the things that, he made his name on. And then when you try to approach him about it, won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And then all of a sudden, and no legit people that are in the fight and meet him like face to face and try to respectfully bring this up, assuming he doesn't know, you know what I mean? Assuming he doesn't know this. And then all of a sudden that fake accent goes away, and the little demon comes out and tells them real quick, you mind your own damn business. You know what I'm saying? And don't you ever approach me with that again. You know what I'm saying? What happened there? What was that all about? You know what I mean? It's a lot deeper than people realize. And again, like I said, if you think that it's just coincidence that all of those influencers together, even though now you see those influencers, they aren't really together. You know what I'm saying? Because you've got some that have, like Diligent that has full straight up gone Democrat way, but yet they all still live around each other. Do you think that's a coincidence? Because I don't.
Anyway, look, I just to see these people come in and influence my own election, and then not to find out or hey, have somebody that can validate your message. That would be important to me. Yeah, dude.
Sorry about earlier. I picked up my phone and I must have pushed the leave button. I just wanted to clarify for Mad Dog because I've been at the ORP meetings as a delegate. The ORP does not give money to individual candidates in primary races for sure. I've seen their budget and they don't do that. What I wish they did do is have, especially the governorship. We have 14 people running for governor. There should be some sort of qualification to run for governor, not just some whoever wants to run, whoever crazy person.
They make it a money thing. Susan, they make it a money
No,
thing.
no, they can make it they can make it a signature. There's no requirement in Oregon for any candidate to run for governor, none whatsoever. No signatures, no nothing. I mean,
Not that you know about. Not that you know about.
Well, I would know because I would follow the ORP. I'm a delegate. So yeah, no, I do know.
No, but what I mean,
know.
I'm talking about different ways that they're able to politically position these guys. That's more what I meant, Susan, not anything against your age.
Well, they don't weigh in on the primaries at all, and they don't have any requirements for people running for governor. There are, I think, for running for a state for a federal office, you have to collect X number of signatures. It's that way for some local races as well. They should have that same thing for governors, because if they had, I think one of them, if you're running for representative, you have to have 3,500 signatures to run for Congress, and they need to have something like that for the governorship, because it's ridiculous. We have some other crazy people running. Some guy who literally in the voter pamphlet called himself the king of Russia. He actually got votes. Like, we have crazy people here. Absolute crazy people. It's nice.
Well, the reason I say, and I'm not very versed on Oregon politics, but here, for like Ed Durr, when he was running in 25, he was running for the primary. He by a certain date to get the backing of the Republicans for them to actually match it 1 to 2. He actually had to raise $500,000 to be able to qualify to make it to the $750,000 qualifying mark, right? So that's basically what I meant. It's more or less, hey, the relationship that particular candidate makes with all the NGOs that enriches his PAC and get all those people in line, that's where they fell short, right? So if you don't meet the 500,000, you don't get the $250,000 credit out of the GOP fund to back the actual candidate without reaching those hurdles, Susan. So I'm sorry if I sound a little pissed off about it, because you're right. I think average people should be able to run for that seat. It should be able to, really go back to the precinct chairs inside each one of our districts, inside of our county, and our first. That's not how it's done here. You want to say anything else, Susan? I'll go to Mad Dog. I'm sorry. I'll go to Chinpool.
No, go to Bad Dog.
Yeah, it's in, and then we'll get into
Just wanted to say that when you guys are questioning about the elections, you might look at the equipment too, especially if it's computerized. A lot of that can be accessed without people realizing it. I know it doesn't seem like a big concern for a lot of people because it never gets talked about. It seems like gossip. It seems to be the more preferred thing to go on about. But as an IT professional, I'd highly recommend you guys look at the IT equipment, because I have a feeling that's how you guys lost New Jersey, not because of social media.
What say it one more time so that I totally understand it. Say it again.
Those voting machines in New Jersey, if they're computerized, I have a feeling you guys lost the election not because of social media, but because those machines were compromised and accessed by another party that flipped the votes. And the reason I'm saying that, when I watched the election that you guys were talking about, I saw votes were hit at one point, and then all of a sudden, I can't say the guy's name, but the votes were pushed back. And that's when I realized, okay, there's some tomfoolery going on with the equipment, because they did the same thing with Andy Bashir.
That would be great questions, but when you talk to the officials here, 25 was the most secure election that New Jersey's ever had. That's what they will tell you. Your own GOP will tell you that. Mad Dog, go ahead, man.
Dr. Frank and a guy named Cook, I can't remember his first name, talks avidly about the machines, if you want to do a deep dive. Anyway, I'm also an Oregon area delegate, and I was present at a convention where one of the representatives from Oregon got up and grabbed a mic and said, vote by mail will never happen, or end vote by mail will never happen. It's a no-go. And it wouldn't take any conversation on that. Yeah, and she's right, Susan's right. Candidates in the primaries do not get money from the ORP. But, and I'm not happy with the selection of Christine Drazen as well. But I will back her just because we want somebody red in the state. And unfortunately, I have to hold my nose for a bunch of others that won their primaries.
Right, Mad Dog? Mad Dog, it's a compromise.
Well, it's the lesser of two evils. That's what
Remember
it is.
that word, compromise, man.
Yep. Yep.
I wish they, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
I was just going to land it there.
Go ahead, Julie, and then we'll
Yeah, just going back to what tinfoil was talking about. Yeah, tinfoil, that probably is definitely the case that there's some cheating involved. However, if you look at what we had to choose from, a lot of people were not happy with Jack Ciattarelli being in the place. He's a 3-time loser. And again, like I said, every time he doesn't win, he leaves. You don't see him. You don't hear from him. He's not backing any of these candidates that are fighting for other positions, in the GOP. He's gone. Okay. I remember vividly. Now it could have been, maybe it was a plant, but I'm just saying when Trump had his rally in Wildwood, where there was over 100,000 people there. Okay. Up in the sky, there was lots of planes that had banners on them all saying about, don't, Trump is bad. Don't vote for Trump. And one of them was Jack for New Jersey, but yet he was endorsed by Trump. Was he put out in front so that we can say this is not the man? And then going to the person who won, Mikey Sherrill, she had no campaign strategy. She had no realistic views on fighting on how she was going to take care of the New Jersey people. And now that she is governor, she's proving it over and over again. The illegals are what's coming first. So yeah, there is a lot of tomfoolery that's happening here in New Jersey, and it's going to have to be gutted out because, like I said,
Interested for the numbers. I'm interested.
Well,
George.
No, go ahead, Marlon.
I'm interested in the numbers. Are the Democrats outpacing the Republicans? That's basically what we're going to understand and really watch the metric. Unless you have every Republican contribute in the primary process and general election here, we got big problems. I'm going to tell you right now, 63%, like Susan, you referenced 63%. That's an extraordinary number. Even on the presidential, if we make it into the high 30s and 40s, we're doing good as Republicans. So if they're outpacing us, we got a dark shadow in front of us. Bill, how you doing? And we'll go to Joe, and then we'll go to Brett.
Thanks, Marlon. Yeah, I'm kind of late to the party here this morning. But I just got on, heard tinfoil talking about the rigged election, and I guess he was talking about I guess this was a prior election, 2025, and the electronic voting machines. I mean, that's a concern. How the counting is actually happening, and of course, this. Some folks are still talking about the ranked choice voting, and I mean, I just can't imagine how effectively that would work. But anyways, Julie's got great comments about Jack Ciattarelli. He hasn't stuck around and supported our efforts here. So I just wondered about that. I mean, it's good to hear Julie talking about that, bringing that up for us, reminding us. And, but I was amazed. So I'm looking at the results of the election last night, our New Jersey primary, and seeing that Justin Murphy won. And again, I didn't hear, all the discussion that you guys might have had earlier on in your space this morning. But in my county, Middlesex County, Richard Tabor won handily, 80% or something. And I just can't believe that, that many people, I really kind of question those results for Middlesex County. And I went to bed thinking last night that Richard Tabor won the election because he so overwhelmingly won Middlesex County. I didn't look at I didn't look at the New York Times website or anything, or New Jersey Globe. But this morning, all the websites have Justin winning 33% and Richard Tabor winning 31%. So, statewide, the elections seem reasonable, but in my county, how the majority that Richard Tabor got, I really kind of question.
The same thing was here, Bill, and that was the same thing that I was talking about today, was that all three candidates actually there was very close margin for all three. But again, it comes down to the GOP did not give bios on any of these candidates. I'm not telling them to endorse anybody. They should have given bios on these candidates. They should have let us know what was happening. Like I said, they apparently had a debate this weekend. Didn't even know about it. Did not even know about it. Nobody talked about it. There was no advertisement for it. And then you wonder why people are just going willy-nilly and voting for all these different people based on just little snippets of information. And that's what I'm upset about.
It's not only the GOP, it's not only the New Jersey GOP, our county GOPs. I mean, we need to do a better job. We need to have some websites, and we need to do more. I mean, it's great, the information that's getting out in Marlin's space every day, and but we need more. I mean, we should have a banner over to New Jersey, but over to Garden State Parkway today. Justin Murphy. We should his name, because his name will have a little recognition for the rest of the day, and we should have lawn signs and banners out there right now just to keep it going.
100%.
But it comes down to money, Bill. Right? When you actually look at why, Julie, you're saying, hey, I haven't heard about it. I didn't. You know why? Because it takes money to get them out. Now, it goes right back to what Rule was saying as far as, hey, these consultants giving these candidates the advice, right? Bill, we talked about it earlier today that realistically it's the consultant firms behind that are running both sides of these elections, man. It's the uniparty money that's really infecting it with with the NGOs and all these political campaign fundraisers. They're at every one of them. They have given them the money to kill the Republican message online.
We should be having barbecues in our parks this weekend. Free burgers, free hot dogs, free soda for anybody that wants to poison themselves. And we should be getting people together. We should try to build on this momentum.
Well, that is the case. That is the thing, Bill. We need more people to come together and join in and fight this, because we're not going to win on the legislative talking points, because they are out winning. They are out beating us there.
Julie, did you see anything put out on social media by our GOP chair in New Jersey about, hey, the accomplishments and some of the wins? Did you see anything today?
Nope.
Did you ever see anything?
Hanlon put out something.
Yeah, you know what? Hold on 1 second. We're going to go right back to you, Bill. We'll go to Joe and then Brennan. Hey, I'm sorry, Julie. Hey, I don't know what's going on, but every time you do open, anybody's got an open mic, it's definitely a repeat.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Nah, no worries. It's all good. Go ahead, Joe. How you doing? Welcome up, and then we'll go to Brennan.
I'm doing good, actually, not bringing up a health topic this time because there wasn't one. But you mentioned diligence. And I've noticed influencers, specific influencers.
I didn't mention them. No, wait. I didn't mention them. I'm just saying. You know what'll happen? Somebody will go out of here that's in the diligent camp, and they'll go back to what Marlon was talking about. You know what I'm saying, Joe?
Well, you mentioned him in passing. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. And I noticed a certain cluster of influencers with a certain kind of narrative, the common narrative of pedophile protector and just trying to inspire hatred of Trump. And I started disconnecting myself from them. But then I noticed when it was Thomas Massey's lost day, I hopped into one of Diligent Space and I saw every single one of the influencers I disconnected from in the same room. And I heard all the bitterness. And because I'd already disconnected, I was separated from it. But there are organized influencers on X trying to motivate. Now, would I have had a vote on Massey? No, I live in Ohio. I voted for Marino. I'm proud of him as a senator. But Massey was kind of like the straw man to try and deviate our opinions from what we believe to be true. And it was very organized. And when I went into Diligent Space and I saw them all there, I realized it was very coordinated. And of course, Diligent blocked me. Oh, heavy sigh. I just noticed the organized influencer activity on X. And I think we need to pay attention. When we start to see a group narrative cropping up, take some time alone and think it through and decide what you're going to believe. And if it's not aligning, maybe it's time to put distance between those chaos agents and yourself. That's all I had.
Hey, Joe, they stay well clear here, dude. You'll never see those people in here. That's the crack up. And Booker just sent me the raw numbers. Look at how the Democrats outpaced the Republicans in New Jersey. And if you can't take that with the telltale sign and apply it, they win hands down. Hands down, they win. That's the raw number. Now, the independents can be swayed. There's a lot of independent voters here. New Jersey is a very unique case. Brendan, how you doing, man? And we'll go to Russ.
Good. I just wanted to speak on the Senate thing last night. Could you hear me okay?
Yep, I hear you good, man. How you been? All right. It's been a minute.
Again.
Something. What?
You're good. Yeah, man. How you doing?
Okay. I'm good. I was just talking about the Senate results, and then some of the people were talking about how could have Justin Murphy won. He came out of nowhere. People don't realize like the influence the county ballot line had, like county endorsements and stuff. Like Ocean County, where I'm at, that's a big deal. Like the county committee, like in Plumstead, the people who I was help running, a lot of them on the county committee lost, but there was a lot of ticket splitting. Our candidate for town committee won handily. But it's like people don't realize the influence that has, and also the positioning on the ballot matters now because social media, whether people want to believe it or not, is not always going into real life, right? So like it's good for campaigning, posting stuff like that, but I think a lot of it came down to Justin Murphy winning was because of his position on the ballot, and also a lot of the people you could say who were voting didn't really know anything about the candidates somewhat. I mean, Rich Tabor, I think was good. Alex, I don't know too much about him, but he seemed like a good candidate. A lot of people I know in Monmouth were supporting him, but in the end, it doesn't really matter in these primaries if the turnout's too low and nobody knows anything. They're just gonna vote for who's first on the ballot. And do I believe November we have even a shot of winning against Booker? No, honestly, I don't. I think Justin is good, and from what I see online about him, but also people were talking about Jack in last year's primary. That really divided a lot of people. And after Jack lost, he kind of just disappeared off the face of the earth, which is to be expected. He lost very bad. But I mean, but then there's this whole argument about, well, who's, the real Republicans, or this, like, you got to be united on all fronts, right? I think the infighting is what's going to keep getting Democrats elected. Like, oh, should we vote by mail? Should we vote early? I mean, it doesn't just vote. Like, that's the most, if you vote, you vote. But to the machine point somebody brought up, I mean, I don't know if it's intentional, but when I went to vote yesterday, morning, people were being turned away for a couple. It was like a little instance where it was saying people voted already, but then they told them to come back and it was fixed. But like there's so many different issues on this and opinions. I think it's just gotta surrounding one candidate. Like Bill Spadia, right? He endorsed Justin Murphy, from what I know. So I don't know if that had any effect to anything, but probably not. But it's just
Right.
a mess here. Yeah.
Randy, you know what's infuriating is that
What?
Jack Chitterelli did the same thing with the Rizzo camp.
Oh
Right.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
the first go around, they made a total divide. So if
yeah,
you took 1/3 of those Republicans that were going to vote for Rizzo, and you
yeah,
take 1/3 that were going to vote for Spadia, and they don't vote for Jack Chitterelli, we lost. We
yeah,
lose every
yeah.
time.
Yeah, this shit's a mess here anyway. I mean, you just got to focus more on like the local. I mean, trying to county stuff, state stuff, Congress is important, but local stuff to me is like I'm a big in the Second Amendment stuff, been advocate here for that. But getting involved on the local level and county stuff is really where it's at, and it's a vicious fight. Like especially in Ocean County, there's a lot of controversy around the head of the GOP here. But like I said, you look at the results, it's literally makes no sense because some of the counties where Justin won, he was not even like the county. So like it just purely comes down to I'm assuming the position on the ballot to some extent, and then also people not knowing much about the candidates. In some ways, I mean, Ocean County, Rich Tabor won. That was to be expected. I would have been shocked if it was any other candidate. But I mean, some of them did come close. Monmouth County was overwhelming for Zaydan, which I expected. So I mean, it really does. Results don't make a lot of sense, and I think it's more mundane than people think the answer is.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the amount that voted, actually, the independent vote almost met the Democrats, right? So if you had a real candidate out there speaking about the real things to influence those independents to come and vote for the Republican side, we would win. Jack Chitterelli sucked at it, and he sucked at it all 3 times.
Yeah,
They could never ever get. Jack Chitterelli was a longtime Democrat before he was a Republican.
I mean, yeah, like I was gonna respond to. I mean, like I said, I don't know the exact. I think the issue in 25 was a lot had to do that just the turnout wasn't there in a lot of these areas that we needed it to be, and it was definitely a Democrat wave year in North Jersey. I mean, it was a disaster last year. That was at Jack's election night party. That was a disaster, that whole race. And I think the way he ran it, just trying to bash her on the Nate, like all the he didn't focus on like the issues that mattered really. That's why he lost so severely. And also, Democrats had an advantage whether people want to believe it or not. I mean, so it was a Trump midterm year, so
Yeah, again, hey, we better come up with some different ways. We're way out. Well, we don't have the governor. Our legislature is
no, we don't hold
54
any
to
state
27.
level. We don't
No,
hold any state level office. I mean, there's some county positions, but like, if you want to get real, even Monmouth County last year in 25, we only won that by 9. Like, Jack won that by 9 points compared to 21 when he won it by like 20 something. So like, you definitely saw a shift towards the left. I mean, the only county I think that trended right last year in the entire state was where I'm at, Ocean County. That was more red than it was for Trump in 24. I'm pretty sure.
well, hey, in my hometown, we had some victories yesterday. So the 2 candidates that I voted for, the new regime going in and taking over Franklin Township's board, I'm happy as a clam. There's one person that got nominated. I think she won. A woman named Barbara. I don't want to say her last name, but she's running for the commissioner board. And this is one sharp lady, man. You know what? This lady should be a county commissioner.
Yeah, well,
So
when you look at the turnout, right? 11% turnout in the whole county of Ocean. That's just for Republic. You know what's crazy? If you go on the county's website, Democrats had a higher turnout in Ocean for the primary than Republicans. Democrats were at like 23% last I checked. Republicans were at like maybe 11 or 16 max, I think, in Ocean. Yeah.
and that's a very red county. Brutal. Go ahead, Rusty, and then maybe we could say hello to Doc Red.
Sorry about that. Yeah, the the reason I forgot, Joe got me to thinking well, first of all, I mentioned diligent, and you could tell him I said, you know, take a jump in a lake or something. But no, that's absolutely right. The influencers, and Marlon, it goes back to the reason why I always say I love your spaces, because you're the only one that's talking about getting local. What are they talking about? What are the influencer spaces talking about? They're talking about Israel, right? Supposedly some, you know, what Julie said before, I mean, that should give you and I'll say this, you can think whatever you want to, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I might have some issues about some things with APAC, influence and representatives, but if you think that they're the only one, that's where you're getting gaslit at. That's not the only, you know what I'm saying? And again, you don't hear these influencers talking about getting local. These influencers probably don't even know who's running in their own races. You never hear them talk about it. Why is that? Probably because they don't vote. And honestly, if they do vote, they're probably not voting on the Republican side. They're just telling you that they are. But when Julie mentioned Chuck Schumer, you know what I mean? Chuck Schumer backing a Nazi, a straight up not, dude that's wearing a Nazi emblem. You know what I'm saying? And then you look at some of the influencers that you're following, and they are, basically you see no daylight there between them and a Nazi. You might want to stop and think about it. And again, like I said, it's not about picking sides. Is it Israel or is it It's not about that. What it's about is listening to all I have to do is sit in his spaces, and you'll hear about 80% of things that you can factually verify. The other 20% are either straight up lies or they're misleading. Is to guide you. These people are paid to come in here and guide you. And if you're okay with that, then you're ignorant. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why I said, all this Israel stuff, that's just like something to keep you looking over there. And the whole Charlie Kirk, same thing with that. It's look over here, don't look where you can actually affect change and be intelligent and talk, with power. Stay over here where somebody thinks you're, bat crap.
Oh, Russ.
But sorry, yeah, that's all I wanted to mention. It was a little bit muddled, but you get what I was saying.
Yeah, it was like, oh my God, I lost you, Rusty.
Well, I think a lot of people that have been on the app and watched the evolution of, hey, what they've done, the 3-ring white binders at the White House. I mean, all of it. I'm sick of hearing it. There's nothing that comes out of the conversation. I'm just not entertaining it, right? It's over and done with in my book. Look, years ago, they came out with direct evidence that the CIA was stoking both sides of that war, the Palestinians, Hezbollah, and Israel. I don't want to hear it no more. It's a dead issue. Then once people realize that's a dead issue, then they'll stop hating Jews in America. I can tell you that. We'll go to
that, but you need to probably be worried about, what's going on with the Muslims. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a real thing. We're seeing that happen. I'm seeing it here, even in Georgia too.
But again, okay, yeah. Hey, look, they're actually getting their voter base motivated. That's how stupid Americans are. Right? They're not paying attention to where, hey, they're mobilizing their electoral process, right? And I have to give it to them a little bit. And I work for a lot of different developments in Northeast Philly where a lot of the Muslims have moved in there. And you know what? 99% of them are talking about their community and their kids, and a lot of them
they
are
start talking
breathing
about
more.
Sharia law, Marlon. That's the point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's just
that's never going to fly here. That's never going to fly here.
until it does, though, Marlon. Until it does,
I
you
understand.
keep thinking that it's not going to happen here, and then it happens here. You're seeing it across the country. That's what my point is. But the Jews, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know how many Jewish people I'm involved with business and everything else, and just forget it. It's such a nothing argument. Go ahead, Julian. We'll go to Ringo.
Go to Ringo. I just want to look at this guy who's requesting.
Ringo, what it is?
My brother, Truth, everybody, Julie, man, it's been a minute. I was looking for your space for a while. Maybe I should just make sure I put my notifications on for Truth. But I wanted to say, hi, guys, how you doing? I love what you guys are talking about. And look, it's Carmen. Oh, my God, thumbs downing me, I swear. That woman, I'm telling you, that woman, Carmen. We love Carmen, by the way. I just want to let you guys know I put you up on the CSN, Conservative Space Network, and I'm glad to have you guys up there. We're promoting you as much as we can, Marlon. We want to have a conducive space network throughout the day. And if you're Carmen, you could go 24 hours. You know how she does her marathons. She's in there too. But yeah, I'm just coming up to say hello to you guys and hope everything's hunky dory. And what you just said about the Muslims is right. The other day, I did a pushback on Facebook for one of them, and lo and behold, what happened? That person ended up coming back telling me, "Well, there's this many Muslim Lebanese in this city." It's like, well, there's about 30,000 more of us than there is you, and you're not going to push what you guys want here if it's insanity. But anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you, guys. Love listening to you guys.
Well, Rigo, thanks for throwing us in there, and I appreciate you, hey, helping us out. And hey, I've got some things going on in the background. I'm not around as much as I used to be, and Truth and Nika and Julie and Terry and everybody else holding the fort down. I mean, that's basically what it's been. So it's good to have a community support, brother. So I appreciate it. Okay, Julie, and then we're gonna.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Raging. I appreciate that. Throwing out these spaces like that. I saw that post. I shared it out. And Brandon's right. We really have to focus on the local because we just don't get that. We're not going to get the wins that we want. So we have to fight locally and make sure that our towns and everything don't get the data centers we don't want, or the solar panels floating in the waterways that we don't want, eminent domain. I mean, there's so many different things to worry about. That's important. But once again, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face. I'm so sick of people saying, well, Republicans didn't come out and vote. Well, nobody really knows what's going on. And if you're not being told what's going on, sometimes people don't even know that there's an election. Some people don't know what's going on. I could talk to people outside of this space because really what I say in this space doesn't go much further. I mean, I don't have a big following. I'm not a big influencer. I'm not a content creator. Okay. I do share a lot of stuff out. However, and I do talk to people outside of this space, in my community, in my town. Okay. But a lot of people just don't know what to do, what direction to turn into, what person to go to as the right candidate to vote for. Okay. So, maybe that's why we don't have a lot of people coming out to vote. So I understand that that's a problem. And I appreciate when people throw that into my face, whatever. Republicans don't come out and vote, but maybe there's a reason why they don't come out to vote. So, and it could be just like you said, Marlon, it could be just one big old party. And that's the way it's going to be in the state. But you know what? If you want people to band together and to come out and fight this machine, then people have to start speaking up about it. That's how I'm looking at it. So I just want to say that in action, I'm not pulling you up, is because when you have protected your posts, I can't see what you're writing in your post. So that's why you're not getting a mic from me.
Yeah, sorry, Action Jackson, man. Hey, we don't know you. There's a lot of distractors out there, and we kind of got the piece going on. Go ahead, Brandon, and then maybe Joe can jump in there, and then hey, we'll get some last thoughts here.
Yeah, I'm just gonna jump off of this after I'm saying my spiel or whatever. But like Julie said, I've been involved in the New Jersey stuff locally, in person, on here. The social media, right, doesn't translate to real life. That's what people fail to realize sometimes. I noticed that in 24 and in 25. I used to be on the spaces on here all the time. Wake Up New Jersey used to have a space. Used to do that with him. But like I said, this does not translate to. You've seen it last night in New Jersey, the Senate primary. Nobody expected Justin Murphy to win. That was not even you could have asked anybody. It would have been like, no, it's either going to be Zaydan or Tabor. You got to get people out to vote locally. Social media is an important aspect of things, right? Campaigning, things like that. But Twitter and all this, it doesn't really. It's not going to make a huge impact most of the time. And a lot of the outrage is fake, right? So somebody could be talking about an issue online and think, oh, it's going to be really important in the election, and it doesn't matter. So that's all my little speech here. But
Hey, Brendan, the reason that we stopped doing the spaces, Wake Up and I, because maybe about you and one other person, nobody else participated. And it was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to be up here. You don't want to hear me the whole time. You don't want to hear Marlon the whole time. I want to hear from everybody. Even if you're not from New Jersey, come and tell us what's going on in your state. Because what's going on in your state is happening in our state too. Vice versa.
Oh, even feedback. I can't. Hold on. So, yeah, I was gonna say like local stuff matters, but also whether people want to believe it or not in the Republican Party. Like I'm 20 and I'm gonna be 21, but the young people, don't like the Uni Party, the establishment type of stuff. And Israel, I would say, like it's not a huge, but among younger people, it could be perceived a certain way, right? But Trump is a blessing and a curse to this party because you're seeing it already. Once he's gone, this party's going to tear itself apart. It's going to tear itself. There's going to be a MAGA, not MAGA. Trump has that unique ability to get people who are low propensity voters out to vote. And you're like when he's on the ballot. So like perfect example was last year with Jack. Like 24, Trump got all these people out to vote who'd never really vote in New Jersey or independent. And that's why the state was so close. People, was it going to trend that way? No, I don't know, to be honest. But Trump has that ability. But once he's gone, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Vance, whoever. They're not going to have that ability, most likely. And that's why MAGA Trump is a blessing and a curse at the same time. And you could run, like in certain areas, you could argue in New Jersey, MAGA, like that's a really good thing in Ocean County. But like Somerset, you're going to run a pro MAGA candidate in a suburban area like that, you're going to get crushed. You're going to get crushed.
Well, you know what, Brandon, great to see you, man. Thanks for coming up. And, hey, I like the experience, especially from somebody younger that understands some of the political nature here. It's good stuff, man. Hey, Brandon, great to see you. Hang out. Got a couple minutes. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
let's go to Summer. Summer, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping up.
Hey, Marlon. Good to see you guys. Julie, thank you for saying that. I don't really have much to contribute for Jersey, but I have a funny story that happened yesterday. Bless my sister's heart. The rest of my family is not political. They absolutely voted for Trump. That's probably the only time that they voted. And then they have me, quite the opposite. And it just goes to show how there are just people that are really busy in life. They don't really know what's going on. But my sister was... She lives in San Diego County, and she was so very excited to come vote for Spencer Pratt. And I was like, sis, she's like, I'm going to vote. I'm doing it. I was like, are you? And she's like, yeah, I'm voting for Pratt, right? And I'm like, you can, you just have to drive somewhere in LA and you get up there and absolutely you can vote. And she's like, wait, what? Oh, she thought he was running for governor and she had no idea. And she was so disappointed because that's all she wanted to do. She's like, I loved him on the hills. He was my favorite villain. And I'm so excited for him. And I paused because I thought, kind of like a lot of us, I do give people shit for not voting. Rightfully so. We all should. But I also understand that there are people that are just so busy. My sister doesn't have an X account. She's never stepped foot on this app. She has no idea. But she was excited and she thought I would be equally as excited for her. So I think sometimes just informing people a little bit. I sent her voter guide from the California Patriot Project. It was like, here's your area. Here's who you need to vote for. Unfortunately, Spencer's not on this time, but in November, you can drive up to LA and you don't have to show any ID, just make up an address. And so I think it's, we just have to keep pursuing people. I think sometimes, again, we send all these text messages for campaigning and we forget our own family and friends. And I think that there's a really polite and nice way to do it and get them like, hey, did you know? I did it with my daughters. They went and voted and they had, their correct area. But I just thought it was super cute because she was so excited to vote for Pratt. And then come to find out, she's like, oh, well, that's disappointing. So at least she was excited to vote. That's a first. So go Pratt. And I'm excited for November.
That's a change. That's a change. Summer, you know what I mean? She's excited to vote. I mean, when's the last time you heard that?
Never. Well, Trump. We were all excited for that one, but I mean, and I think you're right. That is so exciting. It like whatever he's doing, whatever this is doing, it's like energizing people to actually vote. And I think that's huge because I'm from San Diego, and I can assure you there's a million more things people are doing than voting because of, everybody's out at the beach or doing something. So the fact that he has been able to rally certain troops and to kind of energize a new base of just Americans that are sick and tired of being sick and tired. I think it's a great thing, and I'm super excited for November.
A part of me, Summer, knows that, realistically, these people have captured and know how to manipulate our electoral system in this country. I mean, that's basically the bottom line, right? You're watching these Muslims are rising to power. That's because they've motivated their base inside of their districts. They're freaking geniuses at the end of the day. Realistically, that should teach Americans that you stupid asses, you better get out there and start feeding it to these people and having them understand that they're ushering socialism and communism into our local. It's not, okay, people, that, Israel's infected our Congress. Well, guess what? They've infected our state. They've infected our county. They infected our township. So, let's really get the story out there and start educating people. Realizing that Rutgers and Rowan, these educational forms that are out there, they're paid professors to preach whatever they want to help out the constituents. That's it, man. Then once people get this through their heads, they realize that our entire society has been manipulated. Maybe they'll get out of their way. Maybe.
We'll see. Well, I'll finish with this. I don't know if you guys saw what happened in Texas last night in Frisco, actually where I used to live. But they had one Muslim, who actually is under investigation for election fraud, who is running for. He's still running. I don't even know how that's possible. But he had a anti-redneck rally. He was the only one that showed up, but the redneck showed up. And I think that we are starting to see kind of a shift in certain ways because you do have certain people that are taking positions that do affect all of our lives. And I think people are starting to go, what the F, and do something about it. So the redneck showed up last night and it was hilarious. And I hope that more rednecks start to show up, quote unquote. But that one little guy standing there with all these patriots around him was such a vision of how sad it is, but that's what it is. It's just one group of people or one certain, just person that can disrupt everything if you don't stand up. So I was very proud to see that my fellow Texas redneck showed up with all their American glory, and I hope we continue to do that all over the country.
Amen. Summer, great to see you. Thanks for coming up. Action Jackson, I'm gonna go against everything I got, and I'm gonna give you a shot. Action Jackson, go ahead, and then we'll go to you.
Hey, what's up, Marlon? First of all, you made the right decision. Second of all, I really, really respect how you are protective of your space. The reason why my account is locked is because I am very, very vocal about being anti-Muslim, about what is happening in our country, about protecting ourselves and protecting our Americans. And if you think that that's funny, it is not. And I will tell you why very quickly. For 1,400 years, ever since these Muslims were on the face of the earth, they have done nothing but raped, pillaged, and killed. 100 years ago, they sat down and wrote a document. This is the leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood. They sat down 100 years ago, planned out a document on how they were going to conquer the West, and they didn't want to do it with bullets and swords. They wanted to do it by coming up within our education system, within our governmental political system, with any means that wasn't violent or forced, so they could sneak in like little cockroaches. So there you have 10 cockroaches in New Jersey, 10 cockroaches in Texas, 10 cockroaches in Minnesota, and before you know it, you have 100, and before you know it, you have 500. And that's exactly what they've done, and it's exactly how it's been. We are right now, literally, and I'm from New York, by the way, so I'm dealing with Mamdani, okay? My emotion is dealing with Mamdani. When that guy actually got into office, I wanted to pull every single hair I had out. And he's proved himself to be exactly who he is. He's a communist, leftist, jihadi supporting, Qatar funded son of a bitch, straight up. So, excuse me for the foul language, but I wanted to let you guys know a little bit of what I've learned and a little bit of what I do know and a little bit more of what I've seen. And the only reason really why I wanted to say this, not insulting the speakers or the co-hosts of the room, I wanted to say this out loud because it seems to me like 80% of America literally has no clue what's going on. And you might say, why? And if you just turn on the TV, if you turn on the BBC, if you turn on Fox News, they're not talking about this stuff as real as it is. And I will tell you why. Because I've seen video footage of the Qatari leaders who fund the Muslim Brotherhood and every leftist organization that we see marching in our streets, literally admitting that they pay off our representatives on television. They pay off our newspapers. This is how deep this stuff is. So if not for anything else, I really wanted to just come up and share some of the reality of what we are facing as a country. And if you don't really believe that it's as severe as this, do a little research and see what's going on in the UK. That's probably the prime example about what's happened in the UK. And if you look at the UK 20, 40, 50 years ago, and somebody said what I'm saying today, you would have literally told this guy, he is crazy. The Muslims are never going to take over. How are they going to do that? We're the UK, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at what's going on over there right now, I hope that most of you know what is actually going on. And I'm just saying it loud and I'm saying it proud because I am a red-blooded American. I'll land it here. I'm a red-blooded American and I do not want our country taken over by these animals.
Now, look, Action Jackson, I have to tell you, you proved me a little right, but mostly wrong. So I'm glad you had a chance to come up and speak because I am in New Jersey. And this Mamdani and Mikey Sherrill, they have political pacts together. They have ushered in socialism and communism to the Northeast here. Now, what's the relevance for America? Well, don't forget that 60% of everything this side of the Mississippi comes from New Jersey. Okay, they have captured our ports, they have captured our education system, they have captured our government buildings, but here's what I definitely don't want to do. I'm not here to say anything against anybody that's a Muslim. That is not the argument. It's just what the fundamentals come with that person, because what I explained about 10 minutes, 15 minutes ago is a lot of the Muslims that I'm involved with, and I've experienced a whole lot of them in North Philadelphia, they're more concerned about their communities and their kids and what their communities can do for them. That's just 99% of those people. So I don't want to stand here and paint a red mark on every Muslim. That is just not the case. So Action Jackson, you understand where I'm coming from. So
I would love
real quick.
I would love just 2 seconds to respond. So here's the issue. And you are correct. I absolutely agree with you. Not every Muslim is a bad person and wants to harm the world or our country. I could not agree with you more. The reason why I feel the way that I feel, though, is because the Muslims that you and I say may be good people and have proven themselves to be good people don't stand up for what is going on negatively within their larger group of people. They are quiet. They are silent. They do not speak out about it unless they're with you one-to-one. They might do it. But I'm telling you that these radical Muslims out there are threatening their families and threatening their existence if they do speak out. So I'm with you. I would never say that every Muslim on the planet is a bad person. But what I'm trying to do is paint a picture here of how they operate. And I just really feel it's important to share it out there. Everybody can make their own decisions, but I'll end it here. If you just look at what's happening across our country, in Texas, in Minnesota, in Florida, in California, in New York, and now in New Jersey, as well. You can't help but see what is actually happening, and we have to be smart with our governmental systems, and we have to try to take care of ourselves as best we can. And I mean it. It's a real threat. I'll land there. Thank you for letting me speak, man. I appreciate it.
Action. Your stock just went up a couple of points. I will give you a follow.
Okay.
All
Right on, man.
So look, I just want you to realize that that's just not the only problem, right? We know because, hey, I'm involved with the Spanish community. There's a large, fraction of MS-13 here that has captured my state, right? That's not the only problem. But if you don't think that those people are leaning and using their families against them to make sure that they're voting, I would say you would be 100% correct, because they do the same thing with their constituents here. The people that are underneath of that cartel here do what the cartel is telling them. So it's the same thing. So we got a lot of different hurdles in this part of the country, and and Action, you coming from this part of the world.
I could not agree more. I could not agree more.
So that's what I'm based on is, hey, how are we going to be able to fight back and combat my state legislature? My state legislature looks like your state legislature is 54-27 here. What kind of policies do you think the Republicans are going to get for it? None. Right? You hear this talk about, Mad Dog. You talk about Oregon and what they want to do as far as, animals and hunting and chickens and, all this stuff. Well, it's only going to bleed into other states. If that passes in front of the state legislature in Oregon, that same shit is coming here. And when it gets proposed in Jersey, there's going to be a fight. And, that's where we have to be ready with our voting quorums, have these people motivated to go and fight back. So, Action Jackson, like I said, man, I'll give you a follow back. Thanks for coming. Joe, 10 seconds, and then hey, we're going to get a couple last words, and we're going to wrap.
10 seconds. Since I only have 10 seconds.
You know what I mean.
Well, the data centers were brought up. First off, there's 3 in Fort Wayne. There's 2 in Lima. So our area is well covered. Our concerns are valid. And if you really want to know how bad of an entity it is that we're dealing with, look up QTS and data centers, and you'll see. And on one site, they had 40 wells. Another site, they used up almost 30 million gallons of water that was unmetered from the supply from the reservoirs. And it was residents who discovered what was going on. Down in Georgia, the eminent domain and all of that noise, where they go, they come in irrespective of the people and their concerns, and they just take over. And it's all loss, no gain. They promised $200 million over a period of 20 years, but the first 15 years, we get nothing, literally nothing. The schools lose money. So in our location, which is the one that matters, it's not of benefit to the city. West and east of us are not my fight. I'll drop the mic there.
Thanks, Joe. Hey, look, there's some of the discussions, especially about how the primary kind of worked out in my particular county, in my particular town. I'm a happy clam. There's some new people that got instituted, the people that I voted for. There's one sharp lady that's going down and going to try and be a commissioner here in November. And I have ties with this woman, right? She knows exactly who I am. We get a 4-3 on that board. Well, there's not too much that I can't get past in my own county, right? So you can fight back your state. Your county doesn't have to follow exactly what New York State or New Jersey's putting out. Oh, you'll get sued. It's okay. Your taxpayer pay it anyway. So what's the difference? So anyway, hey, I go ahead.
The difference is the people are going to decide, which will give immunity from harm to the city officials. And when it's done, I expect they'll thank us for it.
Until they're motivated. Yeah, you're not seeing that now, Joe. People can talk all kinds of shit on this app. They don't show up. That's why I was a little taken back with TikTok, because that algorithm definitely has me in my own local, I see local people in there interacting with my business advertisements that I put up there. So why shouldn't we be utilizing TikTok a little bit more? Because it is geared towards your home algorithm. It actually kind of taught me a couple lessons. Hey, I do appreciate everybody that came up today. Julie, we're going out to the.
Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me come up and co-host. It was a great space. A lot of talk about the elections, I'm sure, went on in a lot of other states, and I know that for a fact. And just like we were saying, and we're going to keep saying, whoever did win for your primaries, back them, look into them, back them, hold their feet to the fire, make sure that they're going to be representing you. That's the most important thing that we have to do when we're in this, fight, because if we don't have the legislation behind us, which in New Jersey, we don't, have to look at these things that they want to pass and what they want to do to our districts, our towns, and either say it's okay, it's going to benefit us, or it's not going to benefit us, but we have to always stay in this fight. Please talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, your coworkers, what you've learned inside this app, because yes, like we said, not everybody comes to X, not everybody is on social media. And they don't get their information from social media. They're still getting it from the mainstream media, which we know is corrupt. So, guys, just get your facts, get your research done, and just, keep fighting the fight, because that's what we have to do to stay in this. And I'm so glad everybody came up. Please give everybody a follow that came up. And just go on with this day thinking that you are somebody that's important, and you are important. You just have to make yourself known that you're important. And with that, have a great day. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, and God bless America. You there, Marlon? If the space closes, it might close because he might be locked out.
Just saying, well said, Julie. Thank you.
You're welcome. We got to keep this, we just got to keep the fight up, because sometimes we're not getting informed with everything. And Marlon, are you back yet? Nope, he's not back. Carmen, don't you laugh at me. I saw that laugh.
It's all Carmen's fault. I knew it. She did something. Oh, God, that woman.
I do really thank everybody for coming in today. It was a very good space. Keep the fight up. It's just as funny. And stop laughing at me, Carmen.
We got to get Justin Murphy in here and some of our congressional.
We tried that with the governor's race. We got in with Eder, who ended up having to drop because he couldn't get the funds. I doubt that these bigger candidates will come in, but we certainly will try, Bill. That's the goal.
I was in touch with Justin a lot, getting him signatures for his petition. They needed 2,500 signatures, and he's a normal guy, and he but I'm sure he's a little busy. But we got to convince him. We need a little support. Maybe he's not used to the arrows that could come at you from different directions. People. I'm sure we'd get different people, some additional people coming into the space if we got him in. Our congressional candidates. We got Hillary Herzig here in Congressional District 6, Middlesex County. We got to get these people in here. We got to get these candidates in here. And in addition to that, though, we got to be out. We got to go out knocking on doors. It starts now. And if we had the money, if we had signs and lawn signs and banners for some of these candidates' names, they're going to be on people's minds for the next 6 hours while they're looking at election results. Tomorrow and the next day, it's going to all be gone. But we should try to keep it going.
100%, 100%. We have to keep it going. I just wish we would have known. I really didn't know anything about that guy, Bill, to tell you the truth. Did not know anything about him. I did know about, I didn't vote for him, unfortunately, because I really didn't know